Do. Good morning. Right on time. Yeah, look at that. The whole 10 minutes to get ready. Make sure everything's working. How was things with you? How was things? Caught up over the weekend. Holy cow! On 2x speed, yeah, a lot of it is just like blah 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 wah 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 wah. So, most of the stuff that I'm saying is like maybe fun, but you don't need it. Just go learn it on your own. I'm just here to help motivate you and help you guys answer questions. You guys are doing all the learning yourselves. Oh crap, I'm about to get a huge rage. Why am I going to get raged at? Please help me understand the rage. Rage or raid? Rage, people are raging. They're raging. Here comes the raid. The rage, the raid. Rage, raid, it's all the same. It's like, what's a few letters difference? Yeah. Morning. Oh yeah. Yeah, I finally got week 03 up. Suffice it to say that we're going to, yeah, I don't want to get going too much here. We are going to wait until exactly 11:10 to say anything of any importance, which means if you just joined me on YouTube or something like that, I'm just going to shoot the breeze for the next 10 minutes while I wait for everybody to get ready. I love them. Yes, it is not. It's really awesome, is it not? I mean, it is fantastic. Yeah, I mean, there's some things, minor things here that are not perfect, but I hear what you're saying. I hear what you're saying. And so, yeah, we're just going to do that. I'm trying to pull up the schedule here. I could just pull up the fish, though. I mean, fish are great, too. Don't really need to have the schedule up. I could just watch fish all day. Watch the shark. See the shark? He, like, eats things, like, when he hits things. I love that. It's so cool. And the shark. Shark attack. But, yeah, I mean, you know, the book is amazing. It's, I actually paid for it before I knew there was another one that you didn't have to pay for. I've got notes all in it. First keystrokes, navigation, exploring the system. And you get a lot of annotations done over the weekend, but I did do some things that I think are pretty fun. I keep adding little bits and pieces to the RWX GG site. Last thing of pretty interesting is you can like search from this pages now. I bought the book 6 months ago. Yeah. To following all the content. There is a lot of content. I don't think I ever said there wouldn't be a lot of content. In fact, hey, Viable. Yeah. I mean, this is the book. Okay, so this is the other book everyone's saying, yeah, go get that one and teach them algorithms that. It's like 2,000 pages. This is the standard textbook for algorithms and data structures. Actually, I take it back, including the index. It's 1,292 pages. This is apparently the Bible for data structures and algorithms that you learn in college. It's got some pretty hairy math in it. I hate it. I'm sorry. I'm just gonna say it. I mean, I have no intention of reading every page of that book. I started to, and I'm like. First of all, I had an entire IT career that was very satisfying and challenging, and I never once learned any of that crap. So, I'm sorry, there might be a certain type of person in the world that is required to learn this stuff. And by the way, the salaries are amazing if you do learn that stuff. But you know what? Here's the problem I have with that level of computer science. It's too far removed from the stuff that makes a difference, if you follow me. So sure, all that stuff's required to write the low end, the really low end stuff, and people obsess about that stuff, and that's fantastic. I think they should go for it. But it ain't me. I want to make stuff. I want to make stuff that works. I want to make stuff that changes my life, that changes the lives of others. I want to be making applications. I want to be building systems that actually do stuff in the world. And so, questions I Googled before a lot. Yeah. Red Hat kernel. So, yeah. So anyway, when I see a book like that, do I disrespect the people who made it? No, or the people who do it, or all of that? You know, it's like, I don't. But why? I mean, most coding, computers are here to help us provide solutions to problems. If I spend all of my, final days learning about bubble sorts and stuff, what is it going to get me? It'll get me a finer understanding of computer architecture and stuff. Okay. But most of the stuff, here comes the raid, thank me later. Oh, well, data, I appreciate that. I don't know what to say about that. Appreciate that. So yeah, so how is it called when you write maths in computers? Operators. Those are called operators. So the one is division, and the star is multiplication, and the caret is, actually, if you go to rwx.gg/symbols, I actually have a thing about that. I do. I made a thing all about that. It's actually, no, it's typing. It's rwx typing /symbol. Oh, hey, we got a raid. That's a surprise. So here we go. Here's the so here you go. Here's the typing and keyboards page, rwx.gg/symbols has all those symbols for you. Those of you who asked, welcome raiders. We have 3 minutes to shoot the breeze. I'm happy here to answer your questions, and then we're going to get right into this boost for today, which is the first day of the Linux command line book. And so it's going to go fast, and we assume that you've read it completely flipped, which means that, we expect you to have prepared. If you haven't, that's fine, but that's it. Nobody's going to give you a grade here. It's all for you. This is all for you, learning for you. Yeah, I haven't read the book. Yeah, and a lot of people haven't read all of it. So, Ash Fox rated it. That's very nice. Thank you, sirs, ma'ams, and all of you who rated. Appreciate the raid. So why do you care? So for the raiders, if you go to rbx.gg, you'll find a website. I'm just going to go to the terminal version, but the website is like this, rbx.gg, and we're expected to finish it. No, and I don't expect you to do anything. First time in a week I was able to make it here. Thanks for seeing you, Carlos. It's funny, people are able to make it on Mondays more than others. I was watching my analytics from Twitch. I actually opened it. I normally don't. And I saw that Mondays are the big day that people can tend to make it. So that's kind of good to know. We have 2 minutes before we're going to get going. So rbx.gg, if you're new to the stream, you don't know what's going on, that'll answer all your questions. All your questions will be answered there. What should you learn? What is it about? B-Boost is a flipped, Linux Beginner Boost is a flipped and intense course. Open course and credential. I think the apex of algorithms is float operators and manage data structures to manage data structures. Yeah. And I'm not against like bitwise and stuff. I've said this before on this stream. I think that it's unfortunate that we learn that in computer science because frankly, it is computer science. But we don't read stuff like Martin Fowler's book about enterprise business patterns. So people enter the enterprise and can't be productive because they don't know patterns and things. Like, rather than learning a bubble sort or something like that, maybe learn like the subscriber pattern. You know what I mean? Which is like a way of writing code, of organizing a rather large project. Martin Fowler, Enterprise Business Patterns was written in the 90s. It still has relevance today because basically it takes all of the common patterns for software, it distills them and says, here is how you make stuff. Here's how other people's have made stuff. It is sort of, well, you know what? Look, it is businessy, but it's not businessy because it talks about patterns for managing infrastructure, patterns for managing data. What do you do when you have 1,000 systems that have to talk to each other? I mean, it's old, and there's probably some new books out there that are better. But I guess the point I'm trying to make is that, rather than figuring out the math or the possible iterations through, a recursive Fibonacci sequence, which is something that you would do in the algorithms book, why not spend that time learning how to organize software in such a way that it will run the most efficiently and has for a very long time? So I think a lot of the same logic that justifies really deep, learning of data structures and algorithms, you just need to know how stuff works and stuff, also justifies a knowledge of common business patterns and common patterns, just general algorithmic patterns. And I have a feeling that that there is overlap there, but I'm not as astute as much as I should be on the data structures and algorithms. I know them, but not like deeply. And I have my CS classes, but I don't. I would really like to, if I were to write a tiny book about that, it would be to make the overlap. Like, where does this stuff transfer over into the practical world out of the theoretical world? Where does this stuff actually hit the road? Why do I care about this? Yeah, a good use case for MVC and OOP, that kind of thing. What even is that, right? You know what? This is a little fun research project. We got to start, but it would be a fun research project to see if an entire computer science program even touches the MVC pattern once. So I do know of one particular computer, I won't say which one. I know one computer science curriculum that doesn't even have their students make an application over the entire 4-year period. Not once do they make an application from beginning to end. In fact, the person who completed the program that I talked to, or that I heard from, actually made his own application as his capstone project because he had never had one, and he had to learn how to make applications in order to finish his capstone on his own because he had not learned it during the program. So to me, there's a problem there, and I don't know what the answer is. I do think that knowledge of computer science is important, but I don't know if it's as essential as for applications development. I think the boot camps and all that stuff that are out there represent that. Now, if you're going to go into machine learning or something like that, obviously you have to do the math and stuff. All right, so let's get going. Can I do TDD with DDD at the same time? Is CS a single thing? Well, that's a good question too. It's one of those really broad terms, right? The science of computing, that's what CS is. And as long as it stays talking about the science of computing, I think we're good. All right, we have a lot to cover. So I'm going to go ahead and get into it. I'll be looking at the chat a lot less in order to cover this stuff. And I'll be coming up for breaks. I'm going to leave my chat up. I'm going to try my hardest not to look. So that's what's going on. But at the beginning here, if you have questions, since this is kind of just the intro to the week, if you have specific questions on the logistics and how things are going to go down, please ask. If I can't answer, somebody in the chat might be able to answer for you. So the first thing is, what are we doing? And I'm just going to pull up the schedule. So we are now on week 3 of this beginner boost, which is designed to get people up and going. If you want, you can read the target occupations, which are, I don't have them memorized. Let me go look. So why does this exist? So these are the target occupations that we're shooting to prepare people for, not fully, but we've tried to distill out some of the common technical skills and knowledge that are needed to get you, boosted on your way. I kind of imagine myself as like a father trying to help his, son or daughter learn to ride their bike. And I'm like here giving you a boost, and then you got to figure the rest out. Don't crash into the car, learn how to steer. But that's all. I mean, I'm just here to, so just enough to get you started. But it's up to you after that. But so these are the occupations we use to decide what things should be included. People ask, well, why did you think that's important? Blah, blah, blah. So security analyst, software developer, full stack web developer, which is front and back end, system administrator, which is now a pejorative term. It's been given way to site reliability engineer, which is Google's term, which I wrote a whole thing about. In fact, if you go to rwx.gg/books/Google SRE, you can read my rant about the review of the book that I ultimately had to stop reading because it was triggering me so badly. And then anyway, and then IoT embedded developer. So these are the occupations that are the basis of this. I'm explaining that because it sounds like we have some new people here. Day 10 is also focused a little bit on the differences between SRE and sysadmin. Yep. Would a web dev have a GraphQL server? Well, GraphQL is definitely an important thing to learn. The problem is GraphQL doesn't apply to every one of those applications, as far as I know. Now, maybe we need to add GraphQL. I've been really teetering on that particular thing, particularly all back-end web technologies. Do they equally apply to an embedded device engineer? I think so, as long as they're making web applications. Anyway, so this is what's in the boost right now. One of the most significant changes last week that happened was the change to the annual schedule. All this stuff, any change, by the way, is written up in the changelog as of this week. So here's the changelog you can read in excruciating detail. Everything I think will change on rdbx.gg. It's a very live, active, dynamic site that's going along with this very live, active, dynamic course. And it's flipped, which means you're doing all the learning and we're just talking about it when you're here. So that's like a whirlwind overview of what this is about, why I'm here and what we're doing. Here's the actual days of the week that we're targeting. And we go down here and here's the annual schedule. I manually update the changelog. Yes. And so there's also, you can also go look at the GitLab, obviously, if you know how to do that, but people just don't know how to, the type GitLog on Rob's schedule. Yeah. So, so here we go. We have beginner boost. And this is new. So just so you know, we've jammed 3 beginner boosts per year, which actually rotates very nicely with the 52 weeks of the year. There's one week break between, and then there's a 2-week break during December for holidays, and then we're back to January, and we start one out in the spring, and that ends right around the normal time, and then we start up May 4th again. So huzzah, May 4th is a tradition at Beginner Boost, sounds like. I've decided to chop data structures and algorithms course, which is what I was talking about just a little bit. I was going to do a boost for that. I was also going to do a boost for Phaser HTML5 game development. And I will still do that over Christmas break, but it just is kind of a fun thing. But I will not be putting that on the calendar. I really, really, really want to focus all of my energy on boosting beginners, and everything else is just fun stuff that I do on my own. But it's the focus of my stream. It's the focus of my career, my personal life, and my current employment. So, which is my own business, in case you're wondering. So, anyway, let's go back to this. Let's go back to the schedule. So we are on week 3. Let's go ahead and hey zeros. Let's go ahead and look at we'll look at the week. This just barely got up 20 minutes before. You got to understand, I am racing to stay ahead of everybody because I know it's a lot of content, but at the same time, so I am a little behind on my annotations of the book. So my ultimate goal, yes, please take notes. We talked about that the first week. If you are not taking notes and you don't have a GitLab started or something, remember to take notes in Markdown. If you don't know what Markdown is, go to rdbx.gg/md. I've changed Markdown, so there's no redirect. I should probably put the redirect back just in case somebody types markdown/md will get you there. So let me go ahead and save that. I'm just building my site. All the stuff that we're doing right here, all the stuff I'm doing to build the site as we go through the course is also, yes, I have had my coffee today. And so all the stuff that I've been doing so far today is going to be stuff that we do in 2 weeks. Is there a way for loaded annotations? Yes, I'm going to show you how to do all of that. We're going to talk about how to deal with the books. My annotations, however, are not, they're not video annotations, first of all. They're these kind. Let me go ahead and save that so I have a redirect. All right, so let me go back to the week. So week 03, which you can punch up in your web browser if you want. You can punch up rdbx.gg/wk03, or you can just click on the schedule and click on the day, and it'll pop in day 11, which is today. So theoretically, you should have covered through page 127 today. You didn't know that until an hour ago, though. So if you didn't read it, I get it. But I've been saying you need to read the book for a very long time. So hopefully people have been reading ahead. But again, the pace is really intense. I'm expecting you guys to put in the actual pace is supposed to be about 8 hours a day, and I know that not a lot of you aren't going to be able to keep up that pace. That's how many pages we're going to cover today. I mean, not today, but in this week. And so yeah. Hi guys. Question about Markdown. Do we make sublists? No, do not make sublists. You're going to have to go read about Markdown on that, Bara. So again, rwx.gg/md, and then click on basic, and that will take you to basic Markdown, and that's how you can take your notes. Okay. If you've missed that, we covered that in the first week, and we're going to be covering it extensively in 2 weeks. Okay. You just tab. You have 4 spaces or 2 tabs. Make sure it's 4 spaces though, because Pandoc Markdown is tricky about that. Yes, I've had my coffee, but not enough. What do we got to get through today? So the annotations approach. People have been asking me what annotations are. How can I get it? Blah, blah, blah. So the first thing you need to know is that you can go read the annotations by going to rdbx.gg/books. And that is the easiest way. I spent a lot of time on this page over the week, and actually added some other books here. So if you go to this, it will show you the links to the pages, and the links to the books. It's basic Mark. It's basic Mark. Yeah, I've moved him. Sorry. So I promise I won't move him too much more. Actually, if you go to /MD, you'll get Markdown, and then you can click on basic, and basic is now basic Mark, and Pandoc is now Pandoc Mark, and common Mark is now common Mark. So they're all the same. Too much more. So here we go. So this is what's going on with the books. So the books are listed here. This is the course book list. I actually have been doing some other book review, which I've included here, but I did not, about books that are good, books that are meh, and books that you should actively avoid. That's putting it politely. And so anyway, here's your books. When you click on the books, these links no longer go to Amazon. In fact, there is no link to Amazon here. Something I really want to show everybody I'm super proud of. So if you go to rdbx.gg/books, let's say, and you go to one of these books, when you click on it, you no longer get the PDF. You get this site where the annotations are. Okay. And as you can see, I don't have a lot of annotations for William Schott's book yet. I actually lost some of them. I wrote a whole bunch of them during another Linux stream, and I can't find him. I was looking for him this week. And so, but I'm going to go ahead and go through it again. Meanwhile, we're going to talk about it while we're here, and you can just read it. The goal of annotations is to capture the stuff the book does not. So the strategy is find the best book you possibly can, and annotate that book rather than replace the book until you have a replacement, which I do plan to have at some point. I actually want this RWX GG knowledge app to replace these books with simplified versions of all the material without watering it down. It'll be simplified and simpler to read, but not watered down. And William Schott's writing style is very close to mine, so I find it pleasant to read and recommend. But if you want the PDF, you can go click here on the Linux command line. That's how you get the PDF. You can download it. It's not illegal. It's completely Creative Commons, and there you go. So, but the other thing I wanted to show you is, so if you go to, I actually been thinking about putting the books link in the menu. I probably should do that. So, blah, 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 blah. If you click on this, anytime you see a link up here that's linkable, these links, the titles, they actually will query the internet. They'll go to DuckDuckGo and do a search. And I really wanted to show you that. That search will get better right now. It's just searching the light version of DuckDuckGo, not the full version. I'll fix that later with some JavaScript. But this is the best way. I mean, there's no reason for me to rewrite what's already covered on the internet. So I will put my summation of the information, and then you can actually go ahead and do your own search for things. So here's the Markdown link. That one should probably have a link. It doesn't. but basic markdown. But this is a relatively new thing that I just added, and I just wanted to make sure you know about it. So if you ever click on a title, that means that it's going to do an internet search for you. At some point I might allow you to change your search engine, but probably not. I'm a big DuckDuckGo fan as opposed to Google. In fact, I think everyone should get off Google as much as possible. I am Google free, other than YouTube, which everyone has to use. Okay, so anyway, do not do that ordered list, that markdown guide. Don't do this. Please do not use any guide but mine until you've gone through mine, because this is going to show you a bunch of redundant dumb things to do that you shouldn't do. And I'm really hope that you will read the stuff that I have for you first, and then go out and read your other stuff. And if that's fine if you want to do what they have there. But the reason is because, so for example, basic mark is the markdown tutorial. This will tell you why numbered lists you want to simplify, because if you don't use more than that, you'll end up in trouble. And you want to use just the ones, and it goes into the reasons why, and always use one, blah, blah, blah. Okay, anyway, I'm way off. Let's get back to the schedule. Underwater, back, nice, happy day. No, it doesn't. Do not use dots. Do not use dots. Yeah, okay, so... Okay, so here's the thing about the books. So you should have the book here in front of you. You should be able to read through it. We're going to go through the book very quickly. I will be listening for questions this week more than usual. When we move into book annotations, I turn this music down. When we move into book annotations, it's more about me answering questions and helping you get through the book than it is for me to literally read you every page of the book. There's no way we can read all of that in the 3 hours that we have. So that's what's going on. Okay. Yeah. So, nice with the markdown. So I'm talking about the approaches. So taking notes and annotating. Annotating is just an extension of taking notes. And note taking is a big part of writing, and writing is a big part of the RWX mantra. So I actually did write a little thing on that. I mean, I had something about it before this weekend. RWX is an ancient fix to broken modern education system, blah, blah, blah. Executing, writing, and researching. So writing is where the annotations come from. If you want to read about that, you can. And what else we got? So... build on the work of others. That's the whole point of annotations. Opinions are good. I do think annotations are a good way to provide your opinions about something that's written. You guys, it's no surprise that a lot of YouTube videos are very popular if they are reviewing stuff. So opinions are good, particularly if they're well researched. And so, making your own annotations and sharing your own opinions. If you take your notes right while you're reading the book, you may end up having your own annotations of the book, and you can publish those annotations. So somebody else who's reading the book might be able to benefit from your, combined annotations of the book. And then you can curate that into a list. And I can say, hey, on ReadMe.world, here's everybody's annotations of William Schott's book. Now we have 20 different people who provided their own input as they were reading through the book, and we've collectively helped everyone get forward further along in their learning. This is the vision. That's the goal of the ReadMe World Exchange, is that we learn to start writing in ways that can be shared. So that's what I'm doing with the annotations, rather than overwriting his book right off. It's also, his book is also not, it's very unfortunate, but he chose to include a no derivative works clause in the book, which makes it so that you actually can't just fork it and make your own off of his. You have to actually create an original work. Let's see, yeah, I do. It's the 70s and 80s for non-native, for us non-native English speakers. I do not have a good. I wish I knew what alternative to use for Google Translate. I'm sorry, I don't have that. I actually read something about that recently. I'm not going to let myself get taken down the rabbit hole, but I read something recently from someone that, I think it was a Quora question from someone who said, what about all of us who can't speak English in IT? Is it worth going into it? And I didn't get into it, but it sounded like the tone was about the necessity of learning English as a second language to be involved in technology in general. And I, unfortunately, do not have, the wherewithal to do that. But you can't translate things that aren't written down. So the first thing to do is to write stuff down, right? Not just make YouTube videos, which I think is good, but I think we also need to have written content eventually. All right. Today is day 1, which means we need to go through all of part 1 of the book. That means that we have, the first segment. So yeah, back to again. So, right. Okay. So learning the shell. What is the shell? This is another thing. You're going to find a lot of redundancy as we read the book. In fact, throughout the rest of the course, you're going to find a lot of redundancy. And I realized that there was redundancy. For example, regular expressions are coming up in 2 days. Regular expressions come up again when we do JavaScript, and then they come up again when we do Go, and they come up again, I think, when we do C even, maybe. So there's going to be topics that are going to be repeated throughout the course of the 16 weeks, but that's good. Okay. So, learning the shell. What is the shell? We're going to do, let's see how far we can get. And I'm going to go ahead and pull up the book at this point. I do have a PDF copy of the book. It is free, and it's linked. Now, I apologize for the color. It's not the best, but at least it doesn't burn your eyes out completely. I'm going to try to make this more palatable for y'all. All right, so we're gonna I'm gonna be screaming through this. I'm using a tool called MUPDF, by the way, to read this. It's a very nice PDF tool. It lets you change the tint and size, and it's very lightweight. So there you go. All right, so what do we got to get through this segment? Let's set a goal for how much we can get through in the next half an hour. And let me go ahead and pull that up really quick. All right, you can go away. So let's see. So all of today we have to cover, what is the shell nav? This part 1. So let's see. Let's see where the part 1. Let's cover to exploring the system, and then we'll do manipulating directories, and then I think we'll do permission. No, we'll do permissions then. And then we'll do processes. I think we could say processes is its own segment. Okay. It will invert colors with I. Well, thank you for telling me that. I did not know that. Today I learned you can invert the colors with I. It's not in the documentation. I swear. I feel happy. Oh, so happy. I feel happy. I like inverted colors. Good for you. Smart Refrigerator should be VIP just for telling me about inverted colors. Does this mean I need to make it not like I never feel eye burn from going to dark to low? You know what though? I wonder if so since we have a little extra time, can I just test something here? So here's my PDF command. I should. I mean, that's awesome. Just saved us all excruciating pain from our eyes, our eye sockets. How do I start it in an inverted mode though? Do you know that? Do you happen to know that? Because it's not in the thing. Well, since we're talking about PDFs, this is not wasted conversation. How to view a PDF. In fact, I'm going to put it in the calendar. How to view a PDF. Okay, without burning your eyes out. All right, so you're now officially added to the curriculum. I should add Smart Refrigerator to contributors list just for that. I should. I mean, why not? We got time. Trib. Smart Refrigerator. Put you down here. Smart. How do you spell your name? Refrigerator. It does not know you. So you're now in my thing. Zathura is a nice lightweight PDF viewer. This is great. I mean, we're talking about tools for Linux, so this is not an off-topic conversation. This is good stuff. All right. So what else we got? So yeah, I'm gonna just take a quick peek at this, and see if there is a way to start it inverted, because I want to do that. Resolution, no. Bits, change NTOS and quality, no. Full page tilt, no. Size, US, blah, 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 no. G, blah, 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 blah. There, see, it doesn't even document, wait. Toggle between normal and inverted color mode. That's apparently a thing, but it does not have a way to do it from the command line. I wonder if it's -I. You think it's -I? Should we take a guess? Maybe it's an undocumented feature. Maybe it's -I. Should we try that? I mean, why not? We're going to be staring at these things forever. I'm going to try it. PDF, learning the Linux command line. The power must be kept secret. The Linux command line. No! Oh my god, no! Well, we learned something there. Fail faster. Not inverted. Alright, so the moral of the story is, we don't know. We do know that this will work. Yes, it was because I took off the tint. You know why? It's because I took the tint off because I didn't want my letters to be corrupted. See how my letters are all pretty now? I have nice pretty letters. See? Capital I, okay, you try it when our eyes are not at stake. How about that? Because I don't dare try it again. I bet you say that about all the PDFs. Okay, well, see, this is why I took off the tinting, because now my whites are like nice and crisp and awesome. It looks like my website. Nice. All right, we have decided that we are going to get through what is the shell navigation exploring the system. Now, we already did this on Linux Day. We did it during the Linux time, and we did it during the other time. So let me just bring your attention to the survival guide. So if you go to rdvxgg/shell, hashtag survive, you can go to shell survival. And that will take you to shell survival. This is just the absolute basics, covered in the book too. This is just my way of covering it. I call them the cozy shell commands: ls, ls-a, ls-l, pwd, clear, cd, cd ... which means the parent directory, cd space dash, which is, it toggles back and forth between the directories, and then file, which tells you what kind of, actually, I should probably put, I don't think file belongs there. I'm going to change that right now. This is, see, I can change it. I can just change it. I'm going to change it. So I'm going to change it right now, because I actually think I just realized that file is actually an existential command, because it's telling you what something is. There you go. All right. Oh, I forgot to go through the schedule, because this just reminded me of something. I actually did not have full knowledge of the file command, believe it or not, when I did Over the Wire, which is a ridiculously fun little, I think they're called war games. So, so that's now a thing. Yes, set-o vim, which we are going to do. You think cat should be existential? I don't know. We're gonna find out though. So anyway, and the existential commands, which we'll get in later, these are all covered at different times during the book. But if you want a summary of them, they're kind of here. And this page is going to have all of the shell commands at some point grouped together. And so, I mean, I've had different versions of this over the years, and I'm just making a new one. Thank God for Markdown, because it's so easy to make a new one. popd will change your previous directory. Yes, not a fan, but yeah. So cd dash is, there's gonna be lots of like sharing going on, and that's fine. So let's go back to the schedule. So here we are. What is the shell navigation, exploring the system? I don't think I have to talk about what the shell is. Slow down, Rob. Slow down. Take a drink of coffee. Go back. Here's our happy book that we're going to go through. That's going to keep us on track. And let me just say again, one of the best advantages of a book is it gives you structure and comprehensive coverage, even if it misses something. Okay, so if it misses something, that's fine. It still covers, most of the things, and it has the same person's voice. I mean, even if it gets outdated, you can kind of update it that way. And so having said that, let me just say a couple things about the introduction. Read it. Okay, this is not something you can skip. I am, frankly, a little tired of running into people that I mentor who find all the things in the book they can stop reading, they can skip. Okay, and I might have been that person too at a different time, but I'm telling you, do not skip the introduction. Okay, that's the first thing I want to say in my annotations about that. Do not skip the introduction. It answers the best way possible why you should learn the command line. And I think he does a fantastic job of reading it. In fact, it was because of William Schatz that I now believe that calling Linux GNU Linux is not only wrong, it's downright disrespectful. And if you want to read my thoughts on that, you can go to rwx.gg/GNU Linux, all one word. And you can read what's up with that. But my opinion, he changed my opinion based on it. He made a very compelling argument that GNU Linux is not just GNU, and Linux is the common term for all of it, including systemd and GNOME and every other tool that we put on Linux these days. It has nothing to do with the GNU project, not to mention the fact that the GNU elements of Linux are going to potentially die because they've been released under GPL v3, which is going to make many people who want to pick Linux not pick the tools because they want Linux with GPL v2 and they don't want v3. So GPL v3 has put the GNU tool system in a very serious existential crisis. Find meaning for life, yes. So Arch GNU Linux, Ubuntu GNU Linux is that's what I'm trying to say. So don't feel bad calling it Linux. Don't let some pedantic asshole tell you that it's not Linux. It is Linux. It's also not. We don't call it any of those other things. And if you want to jab him a little bit more, ask him why the GNU just killed Linux, because that's what people were blogging about. They're blogging about how the GNU project is going to kill Linux because people are picking up, they're trying to find as fast as they can replacements for GNU tools which were made with GPL v3, which was a short-sighted license that tried to sneak its way in. And we talked about licensing a long time ago. I don't even remember the day. Go back and look at the calendar for I think week 2, and we spent a good hour on that. I'm not going to cover it more. I'm almost out of time, and we're supposed to get through a lot of stuff here. Okay, so most of this stuff, by the way, people, you can just test on your own. I'm actually going to jump ahead and go right to the content rather than just look at the overview. So here we go. Okay, introduction. He tells us about the story, why the command line, what is this book about? Very, very good. The book is Linux centric. That means if you're on Bash, that's not okay. If you you need to get Linux. If you want to run a Debian distro, go watch the Getting Linux last week when we talked about containers on Docker or virtual machines or any of that. It should be already covered last week. 18 more for years, yeah. The man command is on the list, but no. It will be on the list, but just not in any of those. It's not a basic command. I don't think man is a basic command, and we'll talk about that. Who should read this book? This is for Linux people. How do you get Linux? They don't talk about that at all. I assume you already have it. See last week for all of that. What is this book's goal? Learning the shell. So this is, this is the goals we're going through. We're going to go through learning the shell navigation today. We're going to do all of part 1 today. And a good part of we're going to leave part 2 for tomorrow. But we're going to do most all of part 1 today. That includes the random conversation about all that stuff. And I'm going to have to go really fast. So we're going to be writing shell scripts in its own week. That's next week. I'm very excited about that. We're going to do common configuration and environment is tomorrow. We're going to do common tasks and as essential tools and essential tools. That will also be I think 2 and 3. 2 has got its own day, and 3 is split over days 4 and 5. If I remember the schedule. 3 and 4, and then again 4 has its own week, and day 5, I'm very excited to say, will be playing over the wire. So if you want something fun to do and you're totally burning out of going through the book, I'm going to just show you where it is right now, so that you can. And I'm gonna put this in my notes too. Overview of week. Introduction to Over the Wire. This is just one of many kind of CTF war games out there. And so if you go to overthewire.org, the reason I'm bringing this up is because these operational kind of Linuxy command line skills, I believe they're the most fun to learn when you're doing them in sort of this sort of game situation. And it's not quite a security hacking game, but it kind of is. And so if you click on Bandit, you can start doing these levels of Bandit, and you'll be able to start learning the stuff from this week. In fact, by the end of the week, you should be able to pass all of Bandit. Yeah, actually, no. By the end of next week, you should be able to pass all of Bandit, because there is some shell scripting in here. So after you finish this book, you should be able to do everything in the entire Bandit level with no help. And it's super fun. So I mean, if you want to see some crazy videos, go back and look at the old VODs of me like passing level 30 or 33 or whatever it was on this. But I just want to show that to you, just to kind of give you a motivation. This is not all about just reading from the boring book. This is giving you some stuff to do that's really fun. Bandit also goes into Git branching. We do not cover Git branching. That is true. You might have to skip the Git branching steps, but I don't think you can do that. Yeah, you know what? Gosh, that's level 25. Actually, we had somebody just get stuck on that one. Well, you can do the first, I think you can do the first 20 or so levels without getting hit on anything. So anyway, that's a fun way to practice your Linux skills. And Pico does have some of it as well, but not nearly as much of the command line stuff, particularly secure shell and things like that we're going to learn. All right, so back to the book. Command line, command tests, and essentially, let's go down through here. I got 10 minutes left. How much can we get through? Prerequisites, you should have Linux. We talked about that last week. I'm not going to spend any time. Live USB or CD-ROM. You should know how to use a USB. In other words, you should be able to eject, and we're actually going to talk about how to use USB media. So make sure you have some sort of, something that you can stick into your USB drive and look at. So let's see. Here's where this is the whole why I don't call it GNU Linux. I'm not going to go into it. I just explained it. It talks about the GNU licensing and why it's popular. What's new in the 5th edition? So it talks about the Internet edition. You can buy this book for like $30 online. I paid over $40 combined about the paper and the Kindle, and then I found that it was a free PDF. Don't be me. Just find the one that's free first, and it's actually free. It's not like I just stole a copy. Learning the shell. What is the shell? You know what the shell is, right? The shell is just the thing that you enter commands into that interfaces you to the computer. Terminal emulators. We talked about all of that. We talked about terminals ad nauseum the other day, actually in the first week as well. WSL is your fastest way to get one if you're a Windows user. You can just get on the terminal, and I actually disagree with this recommendation to just go and just type random crap on the terminal. In fact, I tell kids not to do that. I tell them to respect the command line and to just, make sure that you're not just typing random gibberish. Don't be tempted to do Control-C and Control-V to perform copy and paste. This is really, really important. Don't listen to people who tell you to use Control-L to clear the screen. It's a really, really important thing. Type the word clear to clear your screen. Do not use Control-L no matter how many people tell you to do it. It's listed under my stupid page, by the way, rwx.gg/stupid if you want to know why. And so here we go. We have the DF. This is just some random commands they give you to run. So it's not, we're talking about free. So they are making money. I actually read the Carnegie Mellon Linux class first day slides, and one of them was that they claim anyway that 80% of kernel devs are actually being paid. So they're working for companies that have authorized them to work on open source projects. So that's where much of Linux is getting its money. It's not actually free. People are actually being paid, but the companies are vested in it so much that they want it to be a thing. So further reading, again, there's great reading there. This Wikipedia article, I don't know about that, but navigation. So PWE, CD, and LS, we've already talked about that. Please take a sip of water. Why? What? Can you not hear anything? My voice. I got a lot to cover because of Corona throat. I don't have Corona throat. All right, I will slow down. I'll slow down if that's what you'd like. I've got so much to cover. So, okay, here we go. We've got, so here's the commands. Does anybody have any questions on the pwcd and ls commands? I'm not going to execute them. These are, the commands. You should know them. They're in the survival guide too. They're probably the first ones you should use. Understanding the Linux file system tree. Okay. What do mission critical projects use? In what sense? Mission critical projects, non-mission critical projects use Linux professionally. Yeah, well, I think, people use Linux all over. There's Linux on space shuttle stuff. There's also JavaScript on space shuttle stuff. Employee training video server will use Linux to save money. Employee training video server will use Linux to save money. Okay. NSB on toasters. We need to create. And that BSD or anything. We need to crack on faster. Okay. So here we go. PWD, CD, and LS. Basic commands. You should know them. You should have tried them already. If you have questions, let me know. Understanding the Linux file system tree. This actually has an official name, and I'm going to send you to a page that's going to send you to another page. So if you go to rwx.gg/LFH, Linux file system hierarchy, I've just started to break it down, and you have the Linux file hierarchy. If you click up here, you get a search. It shows you Linux file hierarchy, which you can search for yourself. When we talk about the Linux tree, I don't know if William Schatz didn't know about it, or if he just chose to use a different word, but it's actually called the Linux file hierarchy, and most of it is defined as a standard now. So you have /home where people's home directory accounts go, so /home/rdbxrob, temp where temporary files go to live, and you need to know about this for over the wire. It's really important. Media is where things get mounted, so like if you plug in a USB stick. MNT contains mount points, which are directories that get mounted over by disk storage devices and USBs and things like that. USBs go into media though. Etsy is where all the configuration files go. var is where random logs and output go for the system. Bin is where most of the system binaries, the things you run. User bin. ls is where you would go to run a program. This is different. Sometimes the thing to know about these is that occasionally you'll think, like for example, I believe netstat is one of the tools that is usually not where in your default shell. Hasn't been the case for a while. But if you can't find something, you need to know about these other bin locations. SBin stands for secure bin. So the secure binaries that usually have to have root permission to run, and they won't even be runnable to you because you can't see them. They're not in your path, which we'll talk about another day. Binary libraries, lib. This is the stuff, the shared libraries used by all the commands on the system. A lot of times when you run ls, for example, it's not just ls, it's using code that's been, binary code that's in a library, and it dynamically links it. It's called dynamically linking the stuff together. When something is statically linked, that means the compiled binary has everything in it that it needs to run. For application use, opt. So sometimes I remember at IBM we would put stuff in opt all the time. Vendor stuff goes in there. Proc and dev are not actual file systems. They're virtual file systems. Proc represents every running process. That's every running program on your computer. Dev represents every device, including your mouse and keyboard and screen and everything. They're all virtually represented there, and everything that manipulates your devices uses the dev file system. It's pretty fascinating stuff. It's not an exaggeration to say that everything in Unix is just a file. They're called inodes, and that gets into more detail on that. So I talked about that a little more than Schatz did. That's why I wanted to make sure you got a handle on that. So that is what's going on in the file system tree. Do you have any specific var is for www and HTML as well. Yes, good. Thanks for that. User unification made things easier. Yes, it did. Yes, there's also path. Yep. Great. Thanks for the input on this stream. Yes, there's nothing like home. 127. Yes, very good. All right. So I need to take a break, and we will come back. Make sure you understand your file system tree. Before we actually, I have 20 seconds to talk about some parts of the file system that are not talked about, and that is your home directory. Let me suggest some things here. This isn't covered anywhere. Okay, so these days people say, well, how should I organize my home directory? And we're going to talk about this more under configuration section, but I suggest you create a repos directory. You can capitalize it if you want, to put all your repos in there, and to organize them by service and user account. So repos/gitlab.com/rbxrob/project. Go is an automatically created directory. You can actually override this so it doesn't create it. I might remove it. So I've actually made mine so that it puts it under .local. I don't like having stuff in my root directory if it doesn't need to be. Bin is a historical directory that people will sometimes add to their home directory and put binary executables. I don't find it very relevant anymore because I call my stuff scripts because it's not a compiled binary, and I put them under my local config. So I have a local /scripts or /bin/scripts. We're going to talk about more of this home stuff during the configuration day, which I think is in 2 days. But I just wanted to give you an overview of what's going on with that. So putting stuff, your configuration from your applications are written usually into .config. And a lot of stuff these days is written into .local, for example, like npm packages for your user account and stuff like that. If you know Node Package Manager, which is Node is JavaScript on the server. All right, I'm going to take a break for 10 to 15 minutes. If you want to catch up or just chat about this stuff, let me know. Again, the goal here is just to get through this material in such a way that we can raise questions if anybody has any questions about covering the material, but it's on you to cover it. And again, we also have the Discord. If you haven't joined our Discord, join the Discord during the break, and then go ahead and Manjaro's Arch, and then go ahead and ask your questions in there as much as you'd like. I'll be back. I need to take that drink so I don't have a dry throat. Hey, Hikari. When I come back, we're going to talk about these basic commands. All right. Ugh. All right. I am going to make this bigger just cause. I'll make it back to a single page too. I think 150 would do it. Maybe 20. The Linux command line. Hello. Oh my gosh. Is it all on one page? We shall see. guess not. That's what I'm going to do. I mean, I guess that's big enough for you to read. I'm going to leave. I'm going to try to go one page at a time. I think it's just easier. And we'll switch back and forth between them. By the way, MU PDF does allow you to use the VI navigation commands, which are super cool. I trust you guys can read that. Yeah? All right, thanks. VIC is just VI which command. It just opens the command wherever it exists. So I'll talk to you about it later, but that's what VIC does. This is all it is. It's just a function I have in my Bash RC configuration that just opens up an executable file in my system, no matter where that is. So that's what's going on with that. It's a fun little tool. All right, so screaming through this book here. During the break, I did notice I missed a couple things, so I was just reviewing because I was going so fast. I want you to make sure to spend some time reading about the mouse and focus and learning how to copy and paste. If you're using WSL on Windows, just remember that when you select something, you have to, you might have to right-click it to get it to paste. Okay, so if you have a problem with that, go ahead and ask in the chat or someplace else, like in the Discord. There's a couple other commands they covered that I missed. They covered the free command, how to exit the terminal. It talks about the TTYs, this whole thing, the console behind the curtain. It talks about there being other terminals associated with your system. This is actually how I froze my system on Friday of last week. Was that right? No, it was Thursday, I think. While I was installing Pop! OS, so I'm not going to do it on the stream, but there are actually 5 or 6 other terminals that you can get to, so you might want to try this on a non-virtual machine if you're on hardware and you want to try that. It's kind of fun, and that will give you a terminal that's underneath everything else that's running in your graphic environment. Navigation, they're going to go into this a little bit more deeply. Current working directory, we talked about that, where you're working. Neat thing about this is that when you get a knowledge of how files and directories and parents and children and all that work, the whole slash thing and ... that'll actually apply to your web development skills. I had a person here who was trying to learn web development and had been using a Mac all of this person's life and did not know what a parent and child directory was. That is not an exaggeration. And I normally build on the knowledge people have gained from understanding how a file system is organized in parent and children, the whole tree thing. And this person had no knowledge of that. So I had to back all the way up and teach the concepts of a hierarchical file system tree in order to understand that. So just remember that if you're helping somebody else to learn it, maybe you might need to talk about it. So it says here relative path names. The special notations are dot and ... Don't forget those. See if I can zoom in just a little more. Nope, too much. Can't fit a whole page in apparently if I do that. I wanted to, but no. Anyway. All right, so next. CD, we've talked about that a lot. You should have that mastered by now. PWD. Again, the CD here. Most of this early part of the book, frankly, is just a simpler version of what you would read online or in man pages. The first thing I ever learned on a computer is making folders in Windows. Yeah, probably. I mean, that's why I was a little surprised. Important facts about file names. I'll just summarize these and mention them. We talked about the dot files. So just know ls-a will show you the files that are hidden. So dot is considered a hidden file. That includes, Minecraft. If you're a kid and you're playing Minecraft, a lot of the worlds are written in dot Minecraft, even if it's on Windows. So that's what's going on. You're having problems with the full path to link images on my Markdown notes. Can you give us a sample of that in the Discord chat? We can maybe help you. What kind of, you're trying to pull images in from where? You probably, then we can maybe look at that for you. Yeah. If you're trying to put images and you want the images in your site, you need to upload the images to your site using the web IDE if you're using GitLab. That's the answer for that. All right, so what else we got? File names, you can name it file anything pretty much in Unix and Linux, and that includes a question mark. I do it all the time. So I do question mark, hello. So the you might be wondering, well, what is the question mark thing? The question mark thing on my system is an alias to, whoops, you have to escape it with a backslash. This alias to duck, and duck is a program that just does an internet search. So that's actually a good thing and a bad thing. You can, and this, if you do over the wire, you can actually name files dashes. And then you have to figure out, well, how do I get to that? So it's really important to understand the difference between a full path and a local path. So if I like make a file here, if I touch a file called slash, well, I'm just going to do it dot slash like that. All right. What does that even mean? Right. Well, that does is that says make a file that's in the current directory. That's what the dot means. And the slash means this directory right here. And then make a file named dot. And I had to do dot slash because if I didn't do that, it would have thought the dash was supposed to be some sort of option for the touch command. And so in order to do that, now when I list it, it will list that I have a dash. Yeah, but now it'll be hard for me to delete it because if I try to remove dash, what will happen? What if I try to cat the file? Can't do it. It hangs. This is actually one of the the over-the-wire Overwatch, one of the over-the-wire things. All right, so I have to use the full path name to the file. So I have to use the full path name to the file and in order to do anything with it. Now I could do, here's my PWD, right? I could type out cat and then type all of this and then slash dash, right? That will work. There's nothing in there, but that would work. Can you just, yes, I could RM the file like that as long as I put dot slash. Yes. That's actually totally, yeah, you could also use PWD. PWD is an environment variable people might not know about, but it sounds like all you guys would do very well on that level. And you actually, quotes won't work. Quotes is one of the things that gets you. Quotes won't work because it ignores the quotes, single or double. And the other thing that doesn't work is what? Backtick. I thought for sure that would work. Nope. Does not work. So the answer to this one, I'm giving you one for free, is you need to use essentially an absolute path. And an absolute path with a dot in it is a relative path because the dot means right here, right now. And that turns it into a file. I found out there's actually something else you can do. I think you can do this as well. Yep. No, that doesn't work either. Some commands will accept 2 dashes to end the arguments, and yeah, or no, I mean that, yeah. So I guess that none of that works. So remove dot slash dash. Best to be in a VM so you don't delete a file system. I know, that's why I absolutely agree. Which is why, by the way, guys, you want to do this stuff on over the wire or some of these other test systems, or maybe you have a VM, or maybe if you really, really want to screw around with stuff, once again, go back and look at how to make a Docker system. Okay. Yeah. Be very careful when you're using the RM commands. But here's the thing. If you're really, really scared of it, go back and watch the videos about how to use Docker. And then you can just do Docker Arch or whatever, start your Arch or your Debian or whatever, or your Ubuntu, and go in there and play around with stuff. And don't mess with DD. Yes, don't you dare type that. You'll destroy your system if you do a sudo in front of that. Don't do that. Okay. So, but this is, and don't do that. Yes, please. It's okay for you to say what not to do right now. That's okay. Normally I would freak out right now because I don't want you to terrify people. But you know what I'm saying. You guys know what I'm saying. Just be nice. Okay. Don't lead people astray. So file names. And once again, one of the most enjoyable ways to use all of this stuff. Yeah. And yeah, well, we talked about DD for ISOs last week ad nauseum. If you haven't been here, we'll talk about it and why you shouldn't use it to make stuff. Guys, don't do any of these commands anybody is suggesting right now. All right. So I kind of opened a can of worms there by letting everybody put in their favorite dangerous command. Just, cautionary tale to everyone. You can do those things. Just make sure you don't do them on a system you care about. Right. So start yourself up a virtual machine and beat it up. Destroy it in ways that are amazing. Make sure you're not doing it to your own system, though. Okay. So and I actually encourage you to do that. If you want to try a fork bomb or you want to try removing, what happens with my file system when I remove the entire thing? Make yourself a virtual machine that you don't care about destroying. Take a snapshot of it and beat the crap out of it. See what you can do to it, because it's better that you do it now and learn how to destroy the thing on your own than to have somebody else to have you do it on accident. Yep, there we go. There's the fork bomb. Here it comes. Do not execute that from your terminal if you plan on using your computer again today without rebooting. All right. So, but my point is this. Do it in a virtual machine. Do I have to say it again? Do it in a virtual machine. And if you don't know what that means, go back and watch the videos last week. Look up virtualization, look up containerization, and run all those commands in containers or virtual machines so that you can break things and nobody cares. Because if you do it on your own hardware or something like that, you're going to be sad. You're going to have to redo everything. All right. Yeah. Or NixOS. I don't know about that. I haven't touched that one. Be nice to the teacher. I've destroyed my more MBRs than I can remember. So have I. And so, will we see some dashed files? Probably not. There are dashed files in the over the wire. Yeah. Have you considered teaching people via VM? Yes. That is something I've taught them to set up. I have actually, last week we had many virtual machines running, and I showed you a bunch of different ones, and I actually hosed my system, my stream, using one of them because some of the commands didn't translate on the keyboard properly. They ended up going to my own system and freezing it. So just remember to have fun and do it. Is MBR a basketball league? No, it's not. It's not a basketball league. Not a basketball league. All right, a little bit of regroup here. We're actually doing really great on time. We're almost through everything we need to go through. So exploring the file system, ls, file, and less. You need to know these commands. I'm going to say again, these commands are required for over the wire. And it shows you here what they do. ls lists out all the files. You can list the files in your home directory, which is a tilde. Tilde is this little curly thing. But can I suggest that you guys take a moment? Can I suggest that you guys take a moment and learn the actual names of the symbols? So go to rwx.gg/keyboard, or no, /typing, I think it is. Yeah, typing. And it'll show you all of the symbols. Okay, so I'm just going to read all these symbols to you. This is the first time we've done this. So when I use this language, I want you to understand what I'm saying. So slash or whack, backslash, back whack, which just sounds so weird. Dot, just a period, exclamation point or a bang, question mark. I'll zoom in a little bit. The colon, of course, semicolon. Make sure you can find all of these on your keyboard. I am not kidding. I've mentored people who did not know where the semicolon was on their keyboard. They never used it. Particularly bar or pipe. Okay, that is above your return key on American keyboards. European keyboards are different, by the way, so just be careful. And competitive, gaming keyboards are usually European. So caret, there's this little. This is actually an accent. What is that? Accent aigu? No, accent something. I forget the name of it. But this is actually an accent character, but they call it the caret. The star, or the asterisk, or the splat, the dash. The people, you would not be surprised. I mean, you'd be surprised how many people confuse the dash for the slash. I say type a slash and they type a dash. Or I say type a dash and they type a slash. Happens all the time. Underscore. Underscore is the thing that goes with the dash or the hyphen. The tilde, this is the hardest one people have finding on the keyboard. That is the tilde. It's up on the top left. We covered this during the keyboard day, but I'm doing it again anyway. Equal signs. This is when the equal sign is used in assignment, it's called the assignment operator. It's not called the equals because it doesn't have anything to do with equality. We'll get into that. Plus is plus. It's also sometimes the join operator. Hashtag, pound or octothorpe, percent, $, single quotes, double quotes, backticks. This is actually also an accent character, but we call it backtick. The @ sign, the ampersand. I mix these two up all the time. You'll hear me say ampersand when I mean @ sign so many times. Square brackets, curly brackets, angle brackets, which are less than or greater than, used as brackets, and parentheses. So just a quick review of the terminology because I use it all the time, and I'm going to be using it a lot more now that we're talking about the command line and then shell scripting. Oh my God, when we start talking about shell scripting, I'm going to be throwing those terms around all over the place. So just make sure you know what that's about. Some people call parentheses normal brackets. I've never heard that. I would be reticent to do that or recommend it because they are not brackets in any world that I'm aware of. So, what does it say? It's my own idiolect. All keyboards. Yeah, they are on all keyboards. Where's the Windows key? I call it super. Actually, you know what? Since you asked, they're down here. Okay, also note the following meta keys: Space, Control, Alt or Option, Super, Command or Windows, Shift, Return or Enter, Escape or Control left bracket if you have that, Tab, FN for function, Home and Page up, Page down, Delete, Backspace, Insert, F1 to F9, and 1 through 0. These are, you just have to know your keyboard. So you'd be surprised that many people don't know the keyboard. I mean, a lot of people won't admit it. But they'll like, oh, that's what that is. The tilde in particular. The tilde in particular is very unknown. Yeah. F19. I actually have an F19. Yep. On my keyboard here. Apple keyboards are different. Yeah. They send the same signals, but all right. So we have a half an hour to get through some more of this, all part one. We have another 2 more segments though. So let's see. So /UZ, I just thought of that because right here, you guys see that they are doing the tilde user there. Okay, here we go. So it's like ls-l. I'm not gonna. You guys know how to ls. I don't need to talk to you about this. Please learn tmux. Yes, I am using tmux all the time. I talked about setting tmux in week 2. If you want to get the tmux.conf, you can go do that in the chat, or you can click on my config files. All right, so ls-l is list everything. Here, this is important though. Let's pause here. So when we talk about options and arguments, what are we talking about? And this is kind of your first introduction to terms that are from programming. So options have dashes in front of them. They're sometimes called switches. And I want to pause on this because this is not something that common people. Flags are they're sometimes called flags. Flags are generally 1-letter options, and sometimes they can be combined, sometimes they can't. It really depends on the library. Sometimes options have 2. They're called long options, and long options sometimes have 2 dashes in them. So that's super important that you understand what's up with that. Okay, an option is different than an argument, and this is something let's not have an argument. I need to really make sure that you understand the difference between options and arguments. Okay, options are settings for the command. Arguments are input to the command. They are things that are going to go into the command, and the command is then going to operate on that stuff. So for example, when you make a new file, touch space file name, it makes the file name is that ls space file name. The file name is the argument. The options, as it has here, -LT, show you what type of what to do, like how to list it. Should I list, and that's what options are about. Options can get very hairy, and people ask why I don't have the man page in my recommendations list. And the main reason is this. Look at the man page for the find command. Okay. Man is a way to look up help information on a system, which we'll talk about later as a section on it. But when you look at this, you need to be able to read what's going on. Okay. So these are options. Okay. The brackets around the options mean that it's an optional option. As if that wasn't a thing. You think there are some options that are required. I know that sounds weird, but so anything that has a bracket around it in the man page syntax, the man page way of writing means that you can have it, but you're not required to have it. It's actually man for manual, nothing to do with gender. So there you go. This is why I show you this, because it'll show you the different options, and then it will also sometimes show you the arguments, and it will name them, and it will tell you how many you can have, if you can have more than one, and all of that. Oh, it was a good joke. Okay, so just wanted to show you that. So we'll pause on that. Again, here is the ls command. The book gives you a summary of the command that you can get by typing man ls. Gives you exactly the same thing. So I'm jumping ahead here and showing you the ls command the man command, so you can look up this stuff on your own if you don't want to be dependent on the book. So I do suggest use the man command. I just don't introduce it right away to people because it can sometimes be overwhelming because it's so much information. I mean, look at this. Oops. So look at all the stuff about the ls command. Okay. Good old Stallman. But see, there's like much less stuff that they showed in the book. So if you're a beginner, you might stick with some of the books in your own notes for now. Tara is a huge one. We're not going to talk about that one. The biggest one of all in the whole system is man bash. This shows you the entire, I think it's like 600 or 700 pages long. This is the entire, 2016 bash 4.0. So that we're going to talk about man again, but I just wanted you to know about it. Compression. What are you talking about? Compression. Are you talking about? Man tar. Tar is not compression. Yeah, that would be zip or something. So we're going to learn about all these things. What are your thoughts on what is? We're going to talk about what is and thought and apropos and all of that during its own section. So I don't mean to put you off, but we're going to skip that for now. That does come up later. What they're asking about is all the commands to look up information about your computer and about the commands on your computer. And the most common one is man, and I only wanted to show you that for right now. And tar and unzip are all going to come up in part 3 later. So let's get to those. All right. So we have ls. We've file. So file. Let's talk about file, because I can tell you what, I've been using the Unix for a long time, and I did not have file. I mean, I knew about file, but I didn't really care until I played Over the Wire. And then I was like, there's this command that actually tells you what these things are. So file space read.md, I can do file on like a script, and it'll tell me that it's a POSIX shell script. Ooh, POSIX even. I wonder who wrote that. And then it's like, oh, hey, there's a born again shell script. Oh, okay. Well, what kind of script is this? So the file command, particularly for hacking, is really powerful for security, because you can kind of decipher what a thing is without, it's really good at like looking at a file and getting its signature and figuring out what kind of file it is. There's a couple of bandit levels that have file in them, so please learn that. So I'm just spending a little more time on that than usual. It tells you about picture. It says here, what is text? And that some people wonder about that. Text is just like basic characters or Unicode code points, and that includes emojis. And that is it. And we'll talk about, and we get into the programming, we're going to talk a lot more in JavaScript. And data structures. We're going to talk a lot about when you type the letter A, what happens? What goes to your computer, and why do you see an A on the terminal? And, what is it? And so, but that's text. Text is a collection of raw text. And I mean, on the terminal, you should already know the answer to this. All of these files are in raw text. And 9 times out of 10, you're going to win if you write stuff in raw text because it's not complicated. It can be saved. This is why I recommend you do your notes in Markdown, which we're going to revisit again in the week about knowledge source. You missed the home emoji. I'm sorry. Now you know where I am, though. You can tell right where I am. So, I got rid of my home emoji. Because people didn't know where I was. People wanted to know, they want to follow along, and this is how you get my stuff, actually, if you want to go get it. This is literally the same exact path of a URL if you want to go, get the source code. ROM plaintext is bad for storing passwords. Good point. Good point. Well taken. So, but not if you turn it, not if it's hexa, base 64, but we'll talk about that. You actually have to know about base 64 text in PicoCTF as well as over the wire. So knowing what is text versus what is binary code. By the way, VI, we've talked about it briefly. Let's watch what happens if you try to VI a binary file. This is what you get. This is not text. This is an ELF binary. So, and you can actually, let's do that. Let's run a file on it to see what it is. So, LS is an ELF 64-bit LSB shared object. Ooh, nice. Or VI dot. Yeah, you can actually, don't mess with that. But if you accidentally VI your directories, you can delete directories by doing this. You can edit these things with VI and it will delete your directories. So don't do it. If you actually ever do that, you might do :Q ! And learn how to exit VI. It's super powerful and super dangerous. But if you have a lot of things that you need to edit, or if you accidentally VI a directory, it's actually Vim that's doing it. VI won't do that. Yeah, so that's a good thing to show. Well, that's good. I'm glad some people got some tips. Yep. Yeah, it's very dangerous. You definitely need to know how to exit VI. If you accidentally delete a line in there, you will blow away a directory. So in fact, I wish I could almost turn it off because I don't ever need it. I don't use it. It's way too dangerous. But some people love it. So anyway, it's also why you don't need, some extra nerd tree commandery thing, because you can just use that if you want. Okay, let's talk about pagers. Exiting Vim, :Q ! Yes. So what is less? Less is a pager. And what a pager is it's a way of seeing text. So without VI. So if I don't want to edit the text, I use Vim for everything. By the way, a lot of people don't know this, but if you use the word view instead of VI, you can use VI as a safe reader. In fact, I prefer to use view over less. I very, very, very rarely will I use more. I sometimes do, but I would rather just use VI. So if you use view, it will stop you from writing any changes. See this? I can't even, it says read-only file. It will warn you, it won't do it. So VIU. So you can go ahead and do that way. It's pretty cool. And .so and .dlls are the same. Yep, just a different system. And so yeah, you've got, you can do stuff. But if you want to just dump the thing in a way that is readable, so what will cat do? Cat just dumps it up, but it chops off, it only shows you the bottom part of it. I want to see the whole file. So you can use a pager called less. And in my case, I have less mapped to more. So, and more is the ancient version of this that I have got my fingers memorized to. So I use more, and I just have mapped more to less. But yeah, so less read. I think less is harder to type for me too. More is much, much easier to type than less. Less is hard to type. It's like almost all in one hand. So, and then again, so you space through the thing, your pager, and then you Q to stop it. So make sure you don't just glaze over the pager section. Make sure you understand how to do that stuff. Okay, because you got to know how to read files. More is way more. More is more. More is just more. I'm sticking with my more. So you can customize it and create an alias, which I've done, and I'll show you how to do that when we get to that, but it's not that hard. So, but he talks about this here. Here's all the commands for less or more. My music is just chill right now because I have to keep myself chill. All right, we have 10 minutes, 15 minutes to go through. So less is more, it says here. Oh, okay, so now we're going to have the guided tour. So cd into a given directory, list all the contents, see what you're doing, do file. Again, if you want to do this, this is all the stuff you have to do on over the wire, so you can do it and have fun playing a game. We already talked about this, but here is the Linux file hierarchy again. I think it's interesting that in the first part they talked about the file tree, and then they come back and he actually talks about the Linux file hierarchy as it's properly named. But here it is, and it says what you need to know about them. More is less. Yes, the less command is more powerful, but the word more is easier to type. So I type more instead of less because I type it all the time when I'm doing that kind of thing. So this, make sure you read the summary about this, particularly if you're going for Linux certification. This stuff is guaranteed to be on the test. Guaranteed. How this is organized, what boot is, what files go in there. So make sure you master that whole list. And /dev/etc. We've covered them all. Cron tab is important. Password, that's where all of your, it actually doesn't have any passwords in it. Etsy password just has your home directory and your user accounts, and the star is in the spot where the password used to be, and the password is now an Etsy shadow. So that might be fun for you to look at if you want to actually break into a Unix system and steal somebody's password. If you copy off Etsy shadow and put it on its own computer, you can run crack on that and you can break into the system without having access to the computer right away. So but the fact of the matter is if somebody has let you see Etsy shadow because of some stupid permissions thing, you already have redone the system, so you really don't need it. But yeah, so that's one way to get in there. Home is where all the user directories are. Home used to be its own partition, its own disk partition for a very long time. That is one way to keep your system files intact, even after you're rebuilding a lot. But these days it's better to just put your home content into the cloud, and then you can just use your cloud. So lib contains shared library files, as we talked about, DLLs, SOs, stuff like that. Lost and found, I think this is interesting. This is, if you ever see this only shows up in the directory where there is a mounted file system. And that is because the file system can't tell. It has a file, but it doesn't know what its name or where it goes. It's very rare to find that. Usually it's a sign of something corrupt in your event, and it even says so. So just be careful if you start to see a lot of lost and found stuff. Yeah, and then we have media, which is where stuff gets mounted, I talked about already. And everything else I've already talked about. User share I missed. User share is where you see a lot of ASCII art packages and things like that will land in there. Fonts and thing, I think, are stored in user share for the system, if I remember right. Yeah, and user share doc is where documentation goes. Not man pages, though. I don't believe. Where are man pages? I don't remember where they go. I'll have to go look up. You have a lost and found in my WSL2 instance. Yeah, I don't know, man. You might want to read about that and see what you can do to fix that. /MNT is where things are mounted, yeah. Generally speaking, it's where things are mounted. Actually, yeah. And so, yeah. Then what do we have? So that's the file system. Again, var log is where you go look at all the people trying to SSH in your machine who fail. And many other things if you've got problems. You want to get in the habit of looking at var log a lot over time, but you can even automate it. But we're not going to do that today. I'm just letting you know. There's this really, really good write-up about symbolic links, and I'm not going to embellish on this at all. It's wonderfully written. Know the difference between a symbolic link and a hard link. So hard links, I'm going to just tell you and shortly as I can. A hard link is an additional pointer, and I mean pointer, a symbol that points to the exact same location of memory on your storage device. Okay, so in every way, a hard link is another pointer to the same exact data space. A symbolic link is not a pointer, it's its own thing. If that makes sense. And in order for you to understand this, you need to know that everything in Linux is a file system. In a file system, it's a symbol table, and everything in the table is an inode. And the things that are in the table, the inodes, so the technical way to say this is that a hard link is specifically not an inode. A symbolic link is an inode. A hard link is a pointer to an inode. And an additional hard link is another pointer to the same inode. I know that's very crazy to think about, but symbolic link is you can kind of think of it as a fork. You kind of it, but it's not true. When you use pointers, when you use offsets. Well, there's no. It's not a C pointer in that sense. It's a point. So let me just show you. This is they don't. He doesn't talk about this very much, so I'm going to show you. So I'm going to go into temp for a bit, and I'm going to make a directory links. Okay. And I have to do this one because no one ever understands it. Okay, so I'm going into links, and I'm going to make two files here. So I'm going to make a file, touch foo, and I have a foo file in here, right? So let's give it some data, echo, hello, and write it into the foo file. So then I ls-l, and you see the file here, okay? And it's got six blocks, ls-lh, that gives you human readable. So that's the size. That must be 6 bytes, I think. Lost and found. The folder itself exists on all Linux DSPs, including empty ones. Does it really? I'm sorry. I must have got that wrong. It's been so long since I've seen one. Oh, right. Okay, Hikari, thank you so much for that clarification. Yes, that is beautifully said. So let me just repeat what Hikari said. I've been drinking water. I have water. I'm about to take a break. So we have what we have here is, maybe it's my mic or something. I don't know. But what we have is the difference between having a lost and found folder and having something in the folder. So if you have something in the lost and found folder, that's bad. Having a lost and found folder is not bad. Thank you for the clarification. Oh, wow. Maybe. So, what we're talking about doing here is this. So, first of all, when you look at the permissions, you have read, write, execute permissions here. We've talked about that before, but you can read about it. Oh, this number here, nobody knows what that is. Well, watch what happens. So now I'm going to make another one. So, ln with no s. I'm going to ln, let's say, blah. No, foo blah. And now I have another file in here. Now, did you see just what happened? Do you see what's happening here? So we have a 2 here. Now watch happen. Now let's do this. Let's make another one. Foo bar ls-l. Now I have the number 3 there. It's actually not the file count. No, watch, because if I do, it's how many files. Yes, I mean, it's not the total. It's the number of pointers, the number of hard links that are pointing to that space. And there's something that's really important to remember. No one of these hard links pointing to this thing is better than the other. Okay, so this is where it's different than a symbolic link. Here's why. Watch. What happens when I delete the first one? So now I'm going to delete foo. What do you think is going to happen? Still there. The memory, the disk storage memory is still alive and well. And it as far as the computer is concerned, the file system is concerned, nothing changed. Right? The thing is still there. It's still just used by another thing. Now, let's try that exact same thing that I just did. Let's do everything that I'm about to do. Let's do the same exact thing with a symbolic link. Hard links, well, kind of. So watch, there's still something there. Watch what happens when I change the file. So if I change blah and put hello there, okay, I changed blah, not bar. Now I'm going to cat bar. It changed. All right, so these are the same exact file, the same memory space, the same inode. So next thing we're going to do is we're going to remove that. So I'm going to remove bar, and now I have ls-l. And by the way, these are way, way faster than symbolic links. Anytime you do anything with a symbolic link, the file system has to redirect. Okay? No, the memory was not erased with an RM. So this is what I'm trying to tell you. This is why I use the word pointer. It's pointing to the exact same space of memory. And until the last one is gone, I can even put it in another directory. So I can go, let's say I go back home, and I'm going to ln to temp links blah. Okay, and then I ls, and now I have a blah. Let's ls-l h blah. And you see, I still have two links to it. And now I have two files that are the same exact name that are in two different places. You can have, okay, so the thing that's really going to blow your mind is you can actually have symbolic links that point to hard links. Okay, so just know about the difference here. When you make a hard link, you're not making a copy of the file. You're making another low level, as low as possibly can be done, reference to the same file, the same disk, the same thing. And so then when we go back to /temp links, okay, oops, cd links, hard link is just a reference to the memory. Yep, that's exactly all it is. So then we remove blah, it doesn't exist. Okay, so there's nothing more. Now let's do a symbolic link, do the same way, and then I'll take a break. So a symbolic link, you're going to make, let's first of all make our file. So vi foo, hello from foo, and ls-l, we see that it's got one hard link to it, and it's got 15 bytes in it or so. And what? Then we need a symbolic link. So ln-s, super important. And then you type the name of the thing, and then the new name, so bar or whatever. And then we let ls-l, and you get this thing. All right. And look at those crazy permissions. This L means it's a link. And this shows you that it's a symbolic link. All right. Now I can have another one. Let's do another one. Let's make another one. Did it do anything to this over here? Did this change? Nope. So these are not additional pointers. These are all pointers to the same thing. One thing to note about symbolic links, you almost always want to put $PWD in front of it, because when you move the link around, it will not resolve properly. It's a little side note. I'll write that in my annotations when I make them for this particular part. But watch what happens now. So what do you think will happen if I remove the file? Now stop for a moment to remember what happens when I remove the hard link. When I remove the hard link, file was fine, still there, right? If I remove a symbolic link, which again is not a pointer to the same space in memory, it is its own memory space. It's its own thing that tells the file system, you don't really want me, you want to go use this thing over here. And the reason is for that is so that you can do things like cause it to not follow symbolic links. Hard links can get you in recursive loops and all kinds of weirdness when they're used incorrectly, but they're highly efficient. Symbolic links can be filtered out of find commands and follow commands and stuff like that, so that they're regarded as not real files, and they can be distinguished from hard links. Hard links cannot be distinguished from the other file. It's impossible. There's no way to sense that this is a hard link. As far as the file system knows, it's the same thing. So when would you use hard links, and when would you use use PWD or dot and absolute path? VMs, which is it depends. It depends. Yeah. So when would you use hard link versus when would you use a symbolic link? Well, hard links are really good for, recreating file structures that need low level access to the system, that are never going to be involved in any kind of recursive function, recursive, file anything. Symbolic links are really good for saying, hey, go over here, use this one I have here, particularly in my home directory. So in my home directory is full of them. So if you look at my, so there's my, so I have like home directories everywhere. Here's a broken one, by the way. And I have, so my SSH directory points to where? It points to my SSH GitLab repo. This is a really effective use of symbolic links. We're going to come back to symbolic link usage a lot when we talk about customization. Okay, so this is a real way to use those. Привет and Twitch Council. I don't know what that is yet, and we're on a break. So let's talk about this for a second. So I've got so this is the last piece of this before I take a break. What happens when I remove foo? Any takers? When I remove foo, what happens to everything? All hell breaks loose. Okay, it's like your links are not pointing to anything, right? There's nothing there. And again, remember back when I removed the hard links, nothing happened because they were just pointers to the same memory space. That's true. Yes, this is true. Adol's got a good point. You can actually use symbolic links to point to different mounted drives too, and that cannot be done with a hard link. That's a good point. That's a really good point. That's another really great reason for them. Symbolic links get a big black eye. Some people hate them in the industry because they can really convolute systems and create a whole bunch of spaghetti. But in our age of like cloud storage for our Git repos and stuff, I find symbolic links really refreshing, and I use them in my home directory. They're not that much slower. It's just a file indirection. You would never use a symbolic link for like, binary memory space for Postgres or something. Yeah, I'm going to take my break. You guys take your break. I'll be back at 12:10 or 1:10. And we're pretty much done with this section, but I think we're going to be good. Okie doke. And I'll be right back. We'll see where we are. All right. All right. All right, guys, we got a lot to cover here. I mean, a lot to cover. So, some people like Task Warrior. If I had $1 for every version of a to-do list somebody's made that they've told me is the best one in the world, the best to-do list is the one you make for yourself, whatever that is, the one that works for you. All right, here we go. You got me aquarium set up in the break. Nice. Did you get the true ASCII aquarium, the one that has transparency, or did you get the wannabes that do not yet have transparency? All right. Great learning tool. Nice. All right. I really have to go down. As I've said over and over, there's no way I can cover everything in part 1 in 3 hours, or actually less than 3 hours given the breaks. So let's just put it this way. We covered hard links and symbolic links. That's one of the toughest things to cover. And I'm going to jump ahead. Most of the stuff that's in here is so well covered by the book that I don't need to cover it at all. And if you have a question, you can ask. So we're going to jump ahead. Talk about manipulating files and directories. Remove, make directories. Make directory, by the way, you know the directory has to be empty, right? So let me just say something about make directory. So people are like RM directory and make directory, and they don't use them, and they're like, why would I use that? So make directory blah, right? Oh, I have a blah. Do I have a blah? Oh, there's a make directory foo. Okay, fine. Make directory sumdir. ls-l sumdir. cd into sumdir. And this is fine, but if I have a file in here, I can't remove it. And this is actually a good thing. And we're going to talk about RM later and how to be really careful. So among all the things that we've talked about so far, there's a big, huge warning about using RM. What's that? What? I'm sorry. What was the question? There's oh, the file itself. There's no trash bin. Well, it's just temp. So the file's here and it's empty, but I can't remove the directory. So, you know, I'm gonna put a plugin for rmdir. Once everybody learns about rm space -r, which recursively removes something, we're going to talk about remove later, but they don't use rmdir anymore. It's like, that's stupid. Nobody uses that. I'm going to make a case to use rmdir as a safety measure, because watch, when I rmdir sumdir, it will say, no, sorry, can't do it. I'm like, what do you mean there's something in there? There's nothing in there. I'll tell you what's usually in there. Touch dot, or actually get init. All right, so here I go. I mean, I don't know how many times I went to remove a directory and rmdir sumdir, and it's empty. I'm like, well, what's in there? ls sumdir. I don't see anything in there. There's nothing there. Oh, ls-a sumdir. Oh, it's a Git repo. Oh, okay. So, and then I went, well, I really don't need that there. So I can, now you could do that. You could remove the directory, and then, you know, if you remove .git, sumdir.git, like, well, I can't remove that. It's a directory. And then it gets kind of annoying. So at that point, you might want to dial up RM's power and danger, but by doing rm-r, and rf means to force it, Yeah, I don't do all the ls variations, but you could definitely do that. And so you could do r and then some dir, and that will remove it. Now that didn't, like adding dash v. So anyway, there's no more directory, and there was no trash bin. One of the first scripts I recommend you guys write is something, I think I removed mine. Yep, nope, there it is. So this is one of the first scripts I would suggest you guys try to write. We might write this during our script week. It's just something called trash. And set your guys up with a trash directory, and you'll be so happy because instead of doing rm, when you don't map rm to it, or eeks is a good one too, but when you map trash, then the stuff is still there, and you have a trash bin, and you can go back and see it if you screwed up and you don't want to delete it. If you're using Git for all your stuff, just removing stuff is not bad at all, because you've always got, you're like one command away from the last one that was committed. You just do git checkout and it brings it back. So again, I'm screaming through the book ahead. I'm screaming ahead in the book to the part that covers RM. But I'm trying to only talk about the things that I really feel like need to be talked about. All this other stuff we talked about, linking, wildcards. Get your head around what wildcards are. This is when people see me using frankly, the first time that I used the question mark as so you see this here, the first time I used the question mark as a command, I was a little leery of that because it prevents me from using the question mark. I mean, I thought for sure it was going to reject it, and it didn't. And I was so happy when it allowed it. Just in case people want, I use 2 question marks, and it searches. Now I can do 2 question marks, and that will get paid $100 a day for training like this. Really? Well, there you go. You would not believe the people. Yeah, go look at the Carnegie Mellon Linux thing that I did on Sunday. So, but the reason I thought that wasn't going to work is because, look, I can do this. So let's make a new directory, testing ls. We'll go into testing ls, and we're going to make something in here. So we'll touch a file, like some file. And so there's this file. Now, if I want to list all the, let's say, touch another file. So I got 2 files in here, ls-l, see them all. And now I've got, then this one file, and I want to see all the files. So then I touch another one, it's like, just like blah. All right, so now I got a blah in there. So I just want to list all the files that begin with file, that end in file. So I use star file. These are called globs, and they have different names. I don't even think that he calls them globs in here. It calls them, which is also known as globbing. Okay, wildcards, which is also known as globbing. So globbing is one way to combine the selection of a thing. And so if I do ls, show me all the stuff with the letter L in it. How about that? So I can go like that, and it shows me all the files. Show me all the stuff with the letter B in it. Okay. Show me all the things that are 4 characters long. All right. Show me all the things that have, let's see, an N and an O in them. Let's see, N-O. You get my point? I mean, it's pretty easy to get. This is not regex. Nope. This is not regex. This is actually really easy to confuse with regex. This is not regular expression. In fact, when it comes to this type of thing, like wildcardy type of matching, there are 2 big families of that. There are globs, or wildcards like we're using now, and then there's regex. And they use the symbols to do different things, and it's really important you don't mix them up, because a question mark in a regular expression means, one or more of the previous thing. A question mark in a glob means one of anything. And it's very, very different. Okay. So you can get your, pseudo languages mixed up, your matching languages, if you don't. So be sure to kind of compartmentalize those in your brain. And you might want to try a little bit of practice here to do this. Now, there is something else they don't talk about. I don't believe in the book. I don't remember if it's here. But these are character ranges and classes, and these sometimes get grouped together with regular expressions, which really makes it complicated. But you can also do, there is also a splat and regex, yes, but it does not mean the same thing. It's completely different. It's similar, but so anyway, when you are doing the regex matching kind of stuff, there's one other one that they don't talk about, and this has to actually be enabled, and it's called globstar. And in order to enable it, you have to, well, we'll use the globstar when we start bash coding. But when you have globstar enabled, you can actually do 2 of these, and that will recursively descend into everything. So if I have like a directory here, make some dir ls some, let's see, touch some dir. Well, let me show you the best place to show you this is back in my README. So check this out. So I can do ls show me all the readmes in every subdirectory. You see that? But this is what I really want you to see, take note of. Not only did this show me the ones that were in the immediate directory, but it showed me the ones that were 2 directories deep. Okay? That's called globstar, and it has to be enabled in your shell in bash. You have to turn it on. So, and it has its flaws, because some people will use this and they won't ever use a find command, which we're also going to talk about. I wish we could spend the rest of the day on the find command, but we can't. So anytime, so the one thing that I need to make sure, you want to see how to enable globstar? Okay, so first of all, you want to consider whether you want to add it to your own shell script or to all of the shell. And this is how you do it. It's in you put it in your bash RC, which is another day. We're going to do customization tomorrow, I think. And you need to search for, let me go search for glob. There it is. All right. So this is in my bash RC, which, you can find online. I've linked to it lots. Here it is though. So it's shell opt-s globstar. If you want this functionality for just your script, you can do that, or you can do it for your overall shell. There's a couple things. So .glob, for example, this makes anytime you use a star right now, any file that begins with dot is ignored by default. But if you want the star to include matches to any hidden file that begins with dot, you have to set .glob. And I'm gonna send these to you guys. I'm gonna send this little. I'm gonna send this. I'm gonna ex you this little thing. So there you go. There's all those little things. Make sure you read about those. I've given you kind of a summary about them. Is it there by default? I don't know. Depends on your shell. Again, this is all bash stuff. This is why I'm covering bash only. I don't know what those same things are and other things. One thing about the shell, we're going to talk about shell customization later, but set-ovi, you probably should do that immediately, so that your command history, which, I can't remember where command history is covered. I think I might have skipped over it. But we need to make sure we talk about command history if we haven't talked. By the end of the week, if we don't talk about it, make sure I don't forget. So, all right, so back to globbing. Again, I'm just talking about the annotating the book and talking about stuff that's maybe not covered or not covered as well as I like. Understand ranges, but don't freak out about them. Okay. And there is right here, it talks about ranges. Okay. Knowing character ranges is super important. And when you're doing over the wire, you'll definitely need to know about ranges. So particularly with the tr command, which we haven't talked about yet, which translates from one character to another. Ranges are a way of saying, I want all the letters from A to Z, for example. So just make sure you got your head around those. Those are super important. This thing about the GUI doesn't matter. Make directory, we talked about that. We talked about copying files, about that. About moving files around. MV is also rename, so that's super important. The biggest gotcha with MV is when you are meaning to rename a file, or you're meaning to put a file into a directory and the directory already exists or something like that. It's really weird when it happens, but you'll be like thinking you're renaming a file. Also, one huge warning with MV. Okay, so, and this is all going in my annotations. They're not there right now. Let me just make a quick directory. So temp MV warning. So there are, okay, so even if I have no clobber set, so let's talk about no clobber for a second. I don't think they actually talk, I don't remember reading about it anywhere. So I'm going to set no clobber, and I believe L beginners, thanks, hi. You should set no clobber. I think everybody should set no clobber. All right, now, particularly beginners, guys, if you're a beginner, just go through the pain of setting it, okay? No clobber stops you from destroying your files by doing things you didn't think were dangerous. For example, I'm going to make a file here, and I'm going to make another file, echo, we haven't done redirection yet, but it's next, but echo blah, and I want to redirect it to foo. And because I have no clobber set, it will say, sorry, you can't do that. And I'll tell you the operator to do that right now. But the operator is to put a pipe after the redirect, which explicitly says, no, I know about this and I'm okay with overriding it. It makes you use a special different operator for redirection, which that comes right next after this. So I don't feel bad about talking about redirection right now, but you might take a moment right now to go set no clobber in your bash RC and just live with it for a while. But here's a place where MV is super dangerous. So let's say, is why good practice is to end the destination directories with slash, files are never left naked. That's a good point too. That is a good point. I mean, that's a really good recommendation. I haven't been following that by myself, but that's a great recommendation. So our friend in the chat is mentioning to put slash after to ensure that you know that you're dealing with a directory. So let's talk about why that's a thing. Okay, so let's pretend like we I don't know, maybe we have another directory here, foo with 3 O's. All right, and this is a directory. So they're different things, okay? And then we have another file in here. We'll say bar. I'm doing the traditional stuff. And so now we've got all this stuff in here. And let's say I want to move bar into the foo directory, okay? If I mv bar and foo, and let's say for some reason I left off, you should use bash aliases, yes, not bash rc, yes, sorry, yes. Bash aliases, for now, yep. Eventually, you can use either one once you get your head around what bash RC does. But for right now, yes, use your bash aliases. It's totally fine. So anyway, so we're going to move the bar. So my intent is to say I want to move this bar file into the foo directory, but I mistype it. Let's say I type it, and yeah, I'm sorry. I use bash RC all the time. And so I use tab for everything. So I use tab and, to get the right one. But in this case, if I were to do this, watch what happens. Did you see what just happened? This is the most significant destruction I have ever done to my system without using the dd command has been doing what I just did. Okay. That is probably the most insidious, dangerous, and innocuous command you will ever use, and the chances of you blowing away something significant while you're reorganizing your directory structures and moving files around is very real. You saw that I set no clobber, right? No protection, and I'm unaware of any way to turn on any protection for that. So no, not right now. Yeah, they're the TTYs. We'll talk about TTY and the development tree. So the TTY, those are actually devices. Those are those stand for teletype originally. Those are what you're connecting to. Those are your terminals, your terminal devices. And that's a little bit lower level than we have time for probably today. But I love talking about TTYs. So I definitely will. I know RM recommend a sudo command requires sudo just because it's in your home folder. Yeah. So yeah, type mv. I look, if you, I don't recommend doing that alias because I use mv in scripts too much. All right. I mean, it would be, so, I mean, that maybe when you're first starting out. Okay. I mean, that might make sense. mv-i might make sense when you're starting out. The reason I don't do that is because if I do an mv-i in a script, yeah, it needs -y every time. And so I install somebody else's script. And so, you know what? You make a good point though. You know, it's like, do you want those scripts will hang. So let's say you automate a script that has mv, which is a very common scripting command. Let's say you automate a script in cron tab or something like that. It would hang. It would hang waiting around for the approval. And so, yeah, the console bash and script bash. mv-n is no clubber. Is it? All right. So yeah, maybe that's the answer. No clubber. There we go. So I think you guys just talked me into adding an alias for my mv command, which I'm now going to do because I've been burned by that one so many times. So I have to do it on my own. I mean, I don't want to put you guys through all of this, but I'm gonna do it. So I'll do it another day. But yeah, so that's a great alias. If you want to do that, by the way, let's actually talk about that. So let's do that. So let's make an alias. This is ahead of time schedule. So mv equals mv-n, and that makes it into a no clubber. So let's do this. Touch bar, mv bar to foo, and I get, ooh, ouch. I must not have done it right. What did I do wrong? Multiple T2Ys and us. Oh yeah, it's definitely a Linux Unix thing. Yep, definitely. Yep. So I know I'm kind of scared of that -n because it did not protect me. So like, why did that not work? I put no clubber and it just didn't care. So I set the alias. Anyway, just know that that's a dangerous thing. Says it's no clubber. I know. But now you know, just to be careful of those kinds of things. You know what though? What our friend recommended would save you from that. So check this, okay? I really like that best practice. When somebody from the stream suggested this, and I'm going to repeat it. He said, anytime you're planning on using the mv command into a directory, put a / at the end. And that is really good advice. Because if you get into that habit, and I'm not, but if you get into that habit, then if you do this, if you do bar, then you know, oh, I'm going to the foo, right? Oh, like, oh, it's not a directory. It saves you. Yeah, it looks like it silently didn't do it right. And I don't want anything silently not working. So I like this advice better. I'm going to start putting the / at the end of anything that I'm planning on moving into a directory as a habit, because that works no matter where you are. You're going to be, this is another thing. You need to develop habits that don't make you dependent on your aliases, because if you get on a system, the whole point of using VI, for example, is because you want to be able to be productive on any system anywhere. So you get on a system, you're like, ooh, I really don't want to delete this thing. So I really, really like this best practice, and whoever said it, I hope you take credit, because I'm going to definitely put this in my annotations, in my suggestions, because this is a very wise practice. And then if I do foo and it's like, I forgot a O, right? I just saved myself. Do you see that? See how I just saved myself? So I never use aliases unless it's on my own system. And Hikari, you make a good point too. I mean, we've got you, yeah. So where possible, let's not like make an alias for a thing. Let's like find a best practice to do so our fingers will be safer. Hey, how's it going, Liquor Door? So that is really useful. I really appreciate that insight about putting a / at the end of everything. I'm going to start doing that a lot more. Another reason that would work is this, is another way that I would have been protected from this, by the way, is this. So if I do this, if I had done mv bar and then foo tab, I would have done 2 tabs and seen that I had a foo that has a directory and one that doesn't, and then it would put the slash at the end. Most of the time when the slashes are being put at the end, you cannot recover from rm-rf short of a low-level, forensic disk recovery, which like the NSA could do or your Best Buy could do. You cannot recover from an rm-rf. Nope. There's nothing to undo. It just happily does what you say. So time shift. Well, yeah. If you have backups, actually, there's a there's actually you look. If you, this is what I do when I do that. Like, let's say I accidentally deleted something, I would be doing this: git checkout, git checkout bar. You know why? Because Git automatically is a backup system of the last commit. So if you delete a file, all you have to do to recover the file is do git checkout. Done. Okay. Yeah. So there you go. We're not going to make it through all this stuff, so I'm going to try to hit on the top points of it. I know we're getting farther and farther behind. We only got like 20, 30 minutes left. I'm going to try to do it. Yeah. First of all, I don't think you should ever be doing any work in anything that's not a Git repo. If you're doing that kind of work, if you've hacked into a system and you can't do the work locally, yeah, you're talking about a different situation there. So, why do I have multiple browsers? What are you talking about? I have one browser. I have Brave and Lynx. I guess that's 2 browsers. All right, so let's go down here. So there's the MV. So that's the big scary thing about MV. Yeah, so he suggests using interactive mode, so that might be the way to do it. I just don't want to type -i every time. I just rather type a slash at the end. I may have used Firefox on occasion. Yeah, it's whatever. Earlier streams of mine, I did use Firefox. Yeah. I got you. Oh, ButterFS. Yeah, ButterFS is a file system that has backups built in. That's what they're talking about. Okay, let's keep going here. So the move command we talked about, rm command we talked about at length, ad nauseum. Everybody tells you to do rm-rf, which means recursively remove without any confirmation. That's what F is, force, whatever it points to. And I have destroyed a system using that on accident. If you accidentally forget to provide an argument for it in a script, this is where you'll really get destroyed. If you put rm-rf in a script that does not check the argument properly, you could end up with the effective command being rm-rf/, and that's how I destroyed my system. Don't be me. Because I didn't check on the input parameter, and I went ahead and did it, and I had appended it to something else, and so the final parameter that it ended up being wasn't root. It was like something in root. It was like /bin or something, and so I ended up it didn't even take very. I mean, all of a sudden my system started acting weird, and do that mistake. You know what I'm telling people to do? I'm telling people to make sure that they go, especially with Pop West freezing. I haven't had a Pop West freeze on me yet, but I haven't been using it a lot. Yeah, make a virtual machine and blow it up. You know what I mean? Really blow it up. Fail faster, which by the way is a thing now. I have a site that has that now. Anyway, modern RM checks for rm-rf and refuses to do it. It's specify another long. Oh, really? I did not know that. I'm using Mint right now, but it doesn't matter what OS I'm using, just because it streams better. Anyway, so RM, be careful with RM, as it says here. LN, we talked about that quite a bit. To take Unix coursework like this in college. Oh, you did? Really? Wow. Well, virtual assistant, I appreciate you talking like that. Yep. Okay. So here we go. Create links. I appreciate the plugs for that. I believe this information shouldn't be hoarded. So anyway, so we have create links. We talked about links. We did a little thing about that. Go back and watch the replay. Symbolic links. We talked about that. We talked about the difference between hard links. This guy, William Schatz, is making a playground just like we did. He actually copies Etsy password and plays around with that. And so you can look at that. We talk about move. We talk about moving into a directory. In this, he does not use a slash at the end, which I'm now starting to recommend. I'm going to use that. What else we got? Move. We got the good old LNs there. Anybody? By the way, if there's anything that you had a question on working through this material, please bring it up while we're coming through it. Maybe we can talk about it. Yeah. All right. LN-S. We talked about symbolic links. He actually does the comparison that somebody else mentioned between symbolic links here. Creating symlinks with a GUI. I don't know why I would ever do that. Forget that's even there. No. Depends on the WSL. So the question is, if you do RMF-RF, does that affect your underlying system? And that is a trickier question than it should be. If you're using WSL1, the answer is no. If you're using WSL2, the answer could be yes, because they have mapped the things together. So you might want to test that just on a directory and see if you can. In fact, one of the disadvantages of WSL1 is that it makes its own file system, and it does allow you to get to the other file system, but it's harder to do that. So just be really careful. Like, do a lot of exploration with WSL. But quite frankly, this is a justification for you to pretend. I mean, maybe some of you are just using WSL from the terminal. You're like, why do I need a virtual machine? I don't need it. Well, now you know. Now you've got one. Now you've got a reason to use a virtual machine or Docker. You know, go back and watch the Docker and virtualization stream and practice running Ubuntu from a Docker container and blow the crap out of stuff. You know what I mean? And then it doesn't kill you. Or make a virtual machine using Docker. And using a virtual box, and then you'll have something to blow up. I do suggest you start. That's been something I've been talking about a lot today, but I do think that's a valuable way to learn, by destroying things. Don't go well together. This is true. We already talked about that. In which case, I would just pick one, probably virtual box. I would probably do VirtualBox, whereas SCP, it's not way below. Sudo VM, but I never use it. Too busy running real deal. Yes. Maybe a virtual manager. Yes. Right. So let's go. We got a lot to cover in 15 minutes. Again, there's just 15 minutes left today, and we should finish all of part 1. And so, man, we got a lot to cover. So working with commands. I told you they were going to talk about man pages. The main thing I want you to understand from this list of commands here is how to use man. All right. Man to look up all the stuff. Understand these other ones I'll let you read about. The difference between type and which. I cannot emphasize this enough. Especially when you're on your own system. If you do which top, okay, it shows you the top command. But watch on my system when I run top. That's not the top that ran, right? So let me show you something. Type top shows you, if you want to know what something is, always use the type command. Okay? If you want to know if a binary or an executable script or command is installed on your system, use which. It's very easy to mix those two up. So, for example, type ls. ls is alias to blah, blah, blah. Which ls? ls is over here. Now, in some cases, the binary command is the same. And then, yeah, of course. And then there is also /top, which disables any aliasing. And that now runs the actual top command. Okay. So again, type ls, type top, type, or which top. So type just tells, no, it tells about everything. So for example, type VIC, right? VIC tells you it's a function and tells you where it lives, right? Yeah, or PWD even, right? What is PWD? PWD, what are you? It's a shell built-in. This is another thing. People will do which PWD. Here's another one. So complete. This is kind of interesting. You see this? So PWD is a bash built-in, but it also has a POSIX version. So it has a command and it's a shell built-in. Here's another one. Yeah. So, yeah. So here we go. So watch this. If you look at, yeah, bin PWD in case you don't have bash because it's POSIX. Here's a crazy one. Look at that. I love that. So which one is it? Same situation. Yeah. I thought you might like that one. Isn't that one fun? So what's going on there? So this ls-l user bin. So this isn't Linux. This isn't Linux. This is Unix. This predates Linux by 15 years. All right. So the reason that the left bracket exists is because originally that was POSIX. It's actually the same as the test command. So there's another command called test, and all that does is test some things. When we get to shell scripting, you'll see. So left bracket is a command. A lot of people don't know that. That's also why that you can't have spaces immediately after arguments and if statements and stuff. But that we're going to talk all about. Hey, thanks for the cheer. We'll talk all about that when we do shell scripting. Okay, but I just thought that was a fun one. So which and top, just know the difference. Left square bracket. Yep. And so there you go. So that's what's up with that. Back to the book. And oh man, I don't know how much I'm going to get. So again, man type which. Again, you should be going through the book on your own. What exactly are commands? Make sure you read all about commands. Commands are things that execute in a very interesting way. You can consider a command a lot like a function. And one of the great things about teaching people command line is when you start teaching them how to code, they already get it. Because each command is kind of like a function. In fact, functions have arguments, and we already covered arguments for commands. Same idea. In fact, when you run a read, evaluate, print loop, a REPL, this like continuous command, reading something, executing it, and then printing out the result, you're running an interactive program. You're running the lines of a program. It's like, here's one line of a program, run it. Here's another line of a program, run it. And that's exactly what the command line is. So when you use a command line, you are already coding. Every command you type on the command line is coding. You're coding. In a very real sense, you are writing code. In fact, you can take everything that you write on the command line, put it in a file, and turn it into a script. It's the same thing. It just runs it from the script instead of each command line by itself. And so I really love learning from the command line because you are coding. As soon as you are using any command line in the world that is an interpreted language, we'll have to say, you are coding. And you can have a REPL that might be not bash. So for example, another REPL manual is Python 3. Let's say, so Python 3. This is another REPL. It's another shell. It's a shell to the Python language. It's a read, evaluate, print loop, a REPL. So now I can actually type commands in here. Print, hello world or whatever. And it's the same thing. I get another line, another line. So, this is really hard to get out of, Control D, but same exact thing. So bash shell is a language, and when we get into the shell coding language next week, you're going to get really into this. But yeah, and C language does have a shell function too. There's something called the C shell, which nobody uses anymore, but it's been around. You can actually, here's a crazy thing. If you guys want to have some really seriously fun, if you're like a big Python person, change your shell to Python. You can actually change your interactive command line shell on your Linux system to Python or Ruby or Perl or Node. No kidding. Check it out. So you can change. They think I'm trolling you. Don't do it. But you can. You just have to do every single thing. It was weird, yeah. So you can like, I use Node for a good hour. So it's like, it's kind of a good test to see if a language could actually be used as a shell. But if you go into your Etsy password file, or you just use your usermod command, whatever it is, you have to look it up. Then you can go in here, and instead of having it be bin bash, no, HTML can never be a shell, but you can change bin bash to be whatever program you want. In fact, the good people who created this CView application created a shell out of the CView command, and you just log in, and the login shell is the program. Because that's all a shell is. A shell is just a program that runs other programs or other things from the command line, interprets the command line and runs it, whatever that means for that thing. And that's what commands are. So that's all I'll say about commands, and we'll move on. LS is aliased. We talked about type versus which. There that is. Getting the documentation, help and man. And just searching, searching with the terminal browser is actually more effective than man most of the time. I'm just going to say it. I find searching from the terminal to be far more effective than man page searching usually, using my Linux terminal shell editor. And there's not a lot of people who have used that long enough to even evaluate that comparison. But if you have started to use links as your command lookup stuff, I mean, like watch ls command on Linux. Let's see how fast it takes me versus man. It's like, hell yeah, links is the safest thing for browsing possible. It's no JavaScript at all, no PDF, no nothing. Ls commands, here's some examples. So how fast did it take me to get an ls command with some examples? If I had been doing that with man page, I'd still be searching. Okay. So I'm a seriously huge advocate of terminal-based browsing for searching things, particularly man page kinds of information. It's time for time. You can't. No, that would have to be something else. No JS. No, you don't need JS for most things in the world, in life, unfortunately. I mean, we're going to learn JavaScript for the right things, but searching for documentation, why would JavaScript ever be involved? Yep. The people who put their documentation behind JavaScript don't know what they're doing, and they're destroying the internet. That's all I'm going to say about that, because I don't want to get triggered. All right, so man, a program, and they're destroying. They're going against centuries of standards, or almost a decade, 2 decades of standards, and they've decided that we don't care. Made a show once. I had an old Windows laptop. Oh wow, that sounds fun, Akari. Legacy code. UNC sticker. Let's see. No, I have AVL. I have Dude Be Nice. I have I have Golang. I have what we think we become. Yay Adventures. I got REI stickers. There's my Golang sticker. My Vim sticker. This is the only thing I sticker up. I don't sticker up my computers. I just am not that guy. No, it looks like Carolina Blue, but it's not. I live in Carolina. It was not fun. I was gonna say. Just put Linux on it. Just put Linux on it, of course. Yeah, me too. I'm just not a stickers guy. I have no. Oh man, no. I would live in Asheville like that. I love Asheville. No Hello Kitty. You know what? I love Hello Kitty, but there's no stickers on here. That's all I could fit. I was like, I didn't want a Patagonia sticker. Sorry. What are we doing? We're almost done. We're supposed to cover all of part 1, so let's just scan through the rest of this. So you know about man. I didn't have to tell you about that. You know about that. You might not know to search different sections of man, which is the thing. Man bash. Read it. Love it. You really should read it. That's how I learned about programmable completion. So here again, man pages, readme, command aliases. Oh, wait. Creating a command with aliases. We're going to talk about, when we do customization, we're going to talk about aliases, but we already talked about that a little bit today. Again, don't rely heavily on aliases. We're not going to do info core utilities. I am not a big fan of info. I've only used it very little. Same with apropos and all those other things. You guys, if you want to read about the other sources of knowledge that you can get from Linux, great. But you have to understand something about me. I barely use man. I use my terminal-based links queries on the internet, and they're way more effectively than I would man-based, because it's what's going to pull up. I'm going to get stuff with examples. I'm going to get user stuff. I'm going to get Stack Exchange. So what I'm saying is that apropos and man and all of the Unix-based information, info core utilities, stuff like that. Info. You're talking about info, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of stuff out there, and this will get you all of the base permissions. Yeah, that looks like it's a really good one too. That might be one worth reading. I've never read that one. But I've found that the internet has been a much richer source of information now that I can use, now that I can do terminal searching. Man was not invented in a time when the level of documentation that's available was out there. And so I personally don't use it. I search the internet. And I do it in a few seconds, same time as man pages. Is that going to get you past the test question that says, what does apropos do? No. So you need to know about that. Yeah. And I know, and there's a lot of people, I grew up with using man all the time. I actually wrote lots of Perl pod documentation too. And I have my own little search tool that I use for my own knowledge base that I have. But so I'm not saying they're bad. I'm just saying that practically speaking today, if you use a terminal browser, which is, some people, Mouse swears he can do the same thing on his web browser, on his graphic browser, you can find as much stuff just as quickly with just using web tools. And I don't know, I think we live in a time where that's now an option. That was not an option even 5-10 years ago. So anyway, well, the solid language for documentation is Markdown, and if you really want to talk about that, we're going to talk about that for a full week in 2 weeks. We're going to do knowledge as source. We're going to talk about how Pandoc Markdown is the language for documentation in the world, and I'm going to make a case for that based on many things, including the fact that it's the only Markdown that supports LaTeX, which is the international standard for math notation. And you can't have a worldwide standard that doesn't have math included. Pandoc, woohoo! I'm a big Pandoc fan. So anyway, let's go down through this. I only got a few minutes left here. So again, aliases, you know what's up with that. Like your forking. Why didn't you stream this content 15 years ago? I didn't know how to stream. I need to learn LaTeX. You can kind of ease into LaTeX using KTeX or one of the math versions of it, and they're all supported by Pandoc. So, yeah, I mean, LaTeX is something that you add on after. Usually, I have kids. I have 18-year-olds taking notes in their math classes that are every bit as good as a math textbook. And they're doing it in Markdown with Pandoc, and because they're writing the notes all out in LaTeX while they do it. Well, they're actually taking their math notes. It's so cool. I mean, if you are headed off to college and you're going to go study math or something like that, and you learn how to master Markdown, basic Markdown, so rdbx.gg /basic mark is the first one. And then if you learn Markdown, you can actually have some of the best notes ever and then share them with the world. So anyway, summing up. So this is the end of this chapter, but we actually missed the entire chapter about redirection. So we're a little behind today. I'm going to wait and do redirection tomorrow. And instead of trying to cram too much into this week, to this day. So I'm just going to modifying the schedule a little bit here just to cover that. But I feel like we covered a lot of good stuff. Again, this is always supposed to be just a review of what you've already read. Most of you should have already, or you can read the book. Tomorrow I've got us trying to catch up to, let's see. We got a lot left. Some of this stuff though is going to go pretty quickly because we covered it already. I'm going to put this here. Continued And we'll put these on here. I actually missed a whole section in my first one. That's why I underestimated the time. Do I have an archive for all these videos? Yes, YouTube. So this is all up on YouTube. rwxrob.live has that. There's links around. If you go to rwx.gg and you click on YouTube, it'll take you there. And the schedule also has links to the videos when they're made and posted. So you can go look at that. Let's see, part 1, learning the shell, continue redirection. Okay, so yeah, I think that's good. A gentle introduction to VI. I'm going to tell you right now, we're only going to cover the VI. Yes, thanks for the likes and subscribes. If you want to do that stuff, I don't like pushing that stuff, but I definitely benefit from it. So when we cover VI tomorrow, just so you guys want to know what to cover tomorrow, environment variables. Yes, we're going to cover environment variables for sure. No, we're not going to talk about editor wars. We're just going to talk about how to use VI and Vim and be done with it. You guys can fight all you want, but there's no reason to talk about any other editor besides VI and Vim. But I do, we're not going to talk about the introduction to VI. You guys should have already done that. But we are going to talk about the VI commands that are not regularly covered, not just the magic wands, the exclamation point. But we are, and VI actually versus Vim. But we will talk about some of the other commands that are not covered in the tutorial, and I'm just going to bring those things out. But we're not going to spend a lot of time tomorrow in VI. I'm just going to show you some tricks you can do with it. One of which already I showed you, which is view, which will open a file in read-only mode, so it doesn't hurt you. You can't hurt yourself. And customizing the prompt. I don't know why they put a whole section in there for that. But you know, we'll cover it. Okie doke. VI. Ew. A lot of no. Don't do Vim Adventures. I recommend against it actually. So we'll talk about that tomorrow. Do Vim tutorial. Use VI. Don't use some pretend tool. Use VI. Use the actual tools. In general, you know what? I want to learn some ed, but I can't justify learning ed for all of the target occupations on the list. If you don't know what I'm talking about, click on overview and click on target occupations. And Vim Tutor for the win, yes. Even though it's got bugs and I want to submit a fix to it, I don't know if they'll accept it though. The Vim team Vim Tutor team does not accept. The Vim team in general does not accept things. This is why NeoVim is the thing, because they got tired of waiting for Vim to put their stuff in. Yeah. So yeah, I would really like to do ed, but I can't see it as being I've thought of it. I've thought about forking the Vim Tutor project or the Vim project in general and compiling my own Vim Tutor, because the Vim Tutor that's there is insufficient. Well, you don't have to completely understand it all. So it doesn't cover exclamation points. It doesn't cover like command capital C. I'm going to rant about this tomorrow. I'm kind of wasting my time. So yeah, let me go ahead and save this. I'm going to build it. By the way, if you want to know how I'm building my site and we're running this and how I'm running these commands. Ooh, can I show you a cool command I just made the other day? Check this one out, man. I can run check now. And, so, we got it raid. Who are we raiding? Zeros. We're going to raid somebody. So my new link checker actually proceeds to the next thing that's not covered in all my broken links in my site. This is RWXGG that I've been building. And I'm slowly porting over some 800 knowledge nodes from SkillStack that I've had over the years. It's going to take a while, but, so that's what I'm working on when I'm not streaming. So yeah, so have fun with rwx.gg if you see anything over there. There's no Easter eggs yet, but there might be at some point. All this code is available for you to check out. I really don't have anything else. Who should we raid? Who should we raid? Who shall we raid? Should we see who's on? I think my Twitch top command works again. Yep. Raid Molten Core. Who the heck is that? Should we raid Lana? She's number 1 again. Rossman Group. Rossman Group is online. We should, is that the same Rossman that I think it is? Oh, he's still getting rated. All right, let's rate him. I mean, yeah, dude, I'm totally rating him. Are you kidding me? He's like one of the best. He's like one of the greatest champions on our planet Earth. I can't believe he's streaming. I'm really glad he's streaming. So, yeah, I mean, he's a, you know what? Because of Rossman, I stopped supporting and promoting CompTIA. In fact, I wrote a huge rant about it. So, yeah. Based on what I learned about the Right to Repair scandal, I stopped promoting, teaching, and using CompTIA, period. I won't do anything with that company ever again. And because of him. So, yeah. Charge. I'm going to make us raid a little bit faster because I don't want to wait. Bum, 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 bum. Oh no, I get to see myself. 132. Here we go. Here we go. All right. Take care, people. Follower for 5 minutes to chat. Hello. I'm done. You just made me coffee?